Hello, and welcome to Revamped, a rewatch podcast covering my all-time favorite shows and movies. I'm your host, Brandon Alexander.
And I'm your co-host, Courtney Autumn.
Together, we've been journeying through Buffy the Vampire Slayer, patrolling the streets of Sunnydale, but now our path expands beyond the Hellmouth as we continue to follow Buffy's battles and growth.
We also step into the shadowy streets of Los Angeles to join Angel on his quest for redemption and his fight to discover what it truly means to be a champion.
Venture with us through every episode in order as we experience the story from two perspectives, Courtney's first time watch and my seasoned rewatch, doubling down on the themes and moments that shape the Buffyverse.
We'll examine pivotal choices, major story arcs, and explore the deeper layers of each show's continued character growth and development.
All while engaging in conversations and sharing our own authentic thoughts and feelings to what's unfolding before us.
So sharpen your stakes, ready your swords,
and continue to stand with us against the forces of darkness as we journey through the supernatural worlds of Buffy the Vampire Slayer
and Angel.
Let's get into this episode. Hey everyone, post-production Brandon here with a quick technical note before we get started. As I usually like to do when these things pop up, I wanted to give you a heads up that we ran into some unexpected audio issues during this recording. About 30 minutes before we started, construction kicked off across the street from me, naturally, exactly. And despite my best efforts to minimize it, my microphone had a tougher time filtering out some of the extra noise than usual. I've been able to clean up the vast majority of it in editing, but you may still notice a little bit of mic bleed, occasional echo, and some background noise throughout the episode, primarily on my track and occasionally on Ollie's as well. Thankfully, it's not constant and doesn't really impact the conversation itself, but I wanted to acknowledge it up front rather than pretend it wasn't there. So as always, we appreciate a little grace when real life decides to become an uninvited guest on the podcast between construction crews, internet connections, and recording with people hundreds of miles apart. With that out the way, enjoy our coverage of this episode. Hey guys, welcome back to this episode of Revamped. I about said Buffy. It is Buffy, but we're revamped. I forgot how I do this. Anyways, today we are here to cover Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Season 4, Episode 12.
A New Man.
This episode aired January 25th of 2000. It was written by Jane Espenson and directed by Michael Gershman. We have a special guest waiting in the wings, as you already heard with the title intro to this episode. We have Oliver, aka Ollie, aka Buffy Crafts, which is O.Buffy on Instagram. Welcome to Revamp. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is my very first podcast experience, and I'm very excited.
Oh, sweet. And you chose us. I'm so sorry. But also, awesome for you, because I think we're pretty cool.
Also, while I'm doing my little intro, I do have a little surprise for you both. As a thank you for having me, I have developed this print for you both.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I have 2 copies that will, when I get your address, be ringing their way to you.
That is so fucking cool.
That is so
he told me he was
neat.
going to do something, but I didn't know what it was. And that looks dope as hell. Courtney's got
It
Faith's
does.
knife. Courtney, don't try to get me with it
Yeah.
like Faith did Buffy. He's like,
Brandon sent me a picture of you, Courtney, and it was that side profile. I think you're on a plane, it looked like. And as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh yeah, Faith, definitely.
oh, I love that.
That's a good enough.
Well, that's kind of
No, you nailed
that's kind of
it.
fun anyways, just because if you play the trope of like the blonde against the brunette, you kind of get those like comparisons anyways. We just love each other versus those two hated each other. Sort of.
We're not going to try to kill each other.
Or did they really love each other?
Literally. Well, while we're here, obviously, we'll give you a moment to talk and tell us about yourself. So let us know who Ollie is.
So, I run the O.Buffy Crafts on Instagram. I've taken it upon myself to do a piece of artwork for every single episode. And I am about halfway through season 2. I'm just about to do Ted. My background is I'm an art teacher and a photography teacher at high school in Barnsley in the UK.
Gotta love the United Kingdom. We're not unprivy to having our UK guest on here. Hello, Christopher. I know he's listening. Everyone knows Buffy, dude. I'm sure you do as well with being an artist, a Buffy content creator. And I know I think I pretty much see him and Robbie from One Draw Over the Cuckoo's Nest or under, who knows? I never remember. He's just Cuckoo for Buffy Puffs, you know? No. We're going to clip that, but I'm not. My second question that I usually ask people is, what brought you to Buffy? So give us a little history lesson and lore.
Oh, way back when. So when it first came on to UK TVs in 1997, I got my nan to tape the very first episode. I'd seen the Buffy film already and sort of was a little bit obsessed at that point, even from the film and its terribleness. So, Courtney, have you seen the film? You have
No,
not. You've
I
not
have
seen it.
not.
Oh, you have a treat coming for you. Yeah, so ever since then, religiously watched, always obsessed. Look at this huge collection of Buffy stuff behind me. Yeah, passion for forever.
Is that all Buffy stuff behind you? I mean, I see the picture of
Pretty
𝑐ELEBRATION Gallery now,
much.
but like on the like racks and stuff back there, that's all Buffy stuff.
Yeah, it goes all the way up,
Dang.
and it's a bit of
Wow.
art equipment, but yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to
it's
spin
all
my camera around just so I don't accidentally disconnect anything, but I have the tiniest little like, and it's more for podcast related things now that I've accrued. I've had a few of these things, but I'll have to send you a picture on Instagram at some point. But I do not have some of the collection. Like when we had Stacy on a couple episodes ago, Courtney, like her wall of pins and all the other Buffy, the fucking huge bobblehead
That was
angel thing that she had that's like 2
crazy.
feet tall. I was like, what is going on? These people,
That
some of
was
these people have
nuts.
so much stuff, and I'm like, I would have nowhere to put these things, but I would love to collect them more.
spent a fortune. I do not want to think about how much I've spent.
I've said it a lot, and it's just really hard to do bonus episodes while we're doing, especially now, 2 TV series. But it is on the wait list for bonus content episodes for Courtney to view the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. When we watch it, I'll probably have to like actually record it like we usually do and upload it to like between like a Patreon episode, which we don't really have right now. I do have a Patreon account. It's just in limbo. I don't have enough content to put there to keep people coming back to it yet. So maybe it'll be a thing one day, but I might post that on YouTube or something if it's able to be there and I can figure out how to navigate all of that stuff. I just don't want to get that high tech with my work because as you know, I told you a little bit ago, I already do 4 fucking jobs and one of them is unpaid. And if I'm not getting paid for it, I'm probably not going to do it as frequently, which is pretty cool. So our final question, what's your favorite season of Buffy?
Oh, season 5, which I definitely can't talk about. Season 2, though, is really good. You know, it's like the classic one that everyone kind of is drawn to. I don't think I'm a Angel shipper, but I do like, you know, him going bad and all of that. It's really good.
Yeah, that's funny because 2 and 5 are typically my favorite seasons I spit out first, just because they're the most iconic to me. In my eyes, I have that sweet spot where like 5 and 3 are kind of like a slash in between, like it's either 5 or 3 and they alternate, but 5 always is going to come out on top. But 2, even though I am a Angel shipper, like I don't really discredit that one just because I like the story arc that we get to go through though. And it's the first time when you're watching the series, you start to feel all those like emotional weights and those pulls and like the stakes that are raised and just like what could go wrong, what could happen. Anybody could be excluded from the show at any point. Like it's awesome.
Yeah.
Courtney herself, it's interesting for when we have guests on here because I have so many that whenever they come on for them to say what their favorite season is, she's probably heard a lot of like season 2, season 3, season 5. Like I think Stacy said like, oh, I love season 1, and we're like, what? Like,
Yeah.
Passions in season 2, I think is maybe not quite my favorite episode, but it's such a good one. You know, like for the heartache, for the Giles going kick ass at the end, and like the emotional bit where they break down together, like that is peak Buffy for me.
that's the episode that made Courtney cry the hardest so far. And I have footage of it, so it's great. Everybody knows. They've seen it on Instagram at this point.
Yeah, it's the diabolical zoom in on my eyes.
They all loved it. They ate
I'm
that shit
definitely
up.
gonna look
I
that
know.
up.
Courtney. They love to watch you suffer because we've all suffered through this, so that's why they're here.
I'm like, no.
But today we're obviously here to talk about a new man. So in this episode, as Buffy becomes increasingly wrapped up in Riley, Professor Walsh, and the Initiative, Giles begins feeling left out of the loop. But after an evening with Ethan Rayne takes an unexpected turn, he wakes up transformed into a Fyarl Demon and discovers what life in Sunnydale looks like from the other side of the hunt. Guest stars this episode, we clearly only have one worth mentioning, and it is Robin Sachs, who is appearing for his final time as Ethan Rayne. He is iconically known for his role as Ethan on the series. He's got 4 episodes across it. He is the antagonist in the video game for Chaos Bleeds, as I've said in the past. And he apparently, from what I learned in my research, reappears again in the season 8 comics. And those are supposed to be canon because it's season 8, but I don't claim them as canon because season 7 is where the TV show technically ends. And if I didn't see it on my TV screen, even though they did that weird generated comic thing on Amazon that I totally tried to watch, and I was just like, I can't get into it. It's not Buffy to me. So I didn't. The people are screaming. They're like, no, it is. And I'm like, no, it's not. No.
I mean, is it canon? I know what you mean. I know
I'm
what
just
you mean.
like,
With the giant dawn.
it's how would people phrase that? Not my Buffy. But I did want to give him a shout out again, just because back in the day, I'm pretty sure I said it whenever we first introduced him. He died in 2013, so he's been passed on for a really long time. So RIP to him. And speaking of RIPs, this is impromptu for you, Courtney. I told him a little bit before we came in, but before we jump into the episode, we're recording this on July 14th. And with Anthony Stewart Head's passing back at the beginning of June last month, I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge him. This year has been a difficult one for the Buffy community. Obviously, we lost Michelle last year, and we lost Nicholas not long ago this year before Anthony. And since this episode is so centered on Giles, it felt like the right time to not only dedicate the episode to him, but to speak on it. So I saved it for now to make it extra special, and I wanted to dedicate this episode of Revamp specifically to Anthony. I thought it might be nice for each of us to share what Giles or Anthony's portrayal of him meant to us. I could talk about it for forever and probably say so many things, mention episodes that I loved him in. But there's still so much to go. So like, I can't say that on this platform the same way, because I can't be like, oh, I loved him in this episode in season 5, because then that might spoil something for Courtney. So what I chose to say was Giles was the heart of the series for so many of us, especially in those early years. He brought wisdom, warmth, humor, and a special kind of humanity to a character who became far more than just a watcher. He was a mentor, a father figure, a friend, and often the steady center of the show when everything else was falling apart. It's fitting that we're talking about him during this episode, because they even mention how important Giles is to the group and the core dynamic. That's not just something the characters say, it's something the show proves time and time again. This show was my first exposure to Anthony Stewart Head as an actor. I haven't even explored all of his work over the years, but what I do know is that he was important to me because of who he was on Buffy. Through Giles, he helped guide not only the Scoobies, but my favorite hero as well. His presence gave the show a sense of stability, compassion, intellect, and the heart that would be hard to replace. Giles was never a favorite character of mine. Not to say that he's not a favorite character, but along this rewatch, I've taken new appreciation to him and analyzing his role. And even though I've always loved him and a lot of his moments, this just grants me new perspective on his performances within the series. I'm extra appreciative of his fatherly role and journey with Buffy, and I acknowledge that as someone who comes from not having a strong father figure in my life or someone I looked up to. But I think it's fair to say in ways we can all look up to Giles as the father or parental guide we wish we could have had. Anytime we lose someone who's part of this series, it's going to be a moment for me, and I imagine most of you will feel the same way. Anthony had a special quality on screen. He could command a scene with authority one moment and then completely disarm you with humor, vulnerability, or kindness the next. In a strange way, his passing also reminds me how fortunate we are that these performances still exist. We get to revisit them, talk about them, celebrate them, and discover new things in them every time we watch. As we continue this podcast, we'll have more opportunities to appreciate what Anthony brought to this character and to this world. On the day of his death, when I received the news and saw all the posts being made for him, I totally got choked up, and after a while, I found myself retreating outside to sit in my garden, sip a soothing tea out of my green jade mug that mirrors his own often seen on the show, and gave him a moment of my time. Here and now, I'd simply just like to give him thanks. So thank you, Anthony Stewart Head, for giving us Giles. I made it through without crying. I know. Courtney, I know you haven't had as much time with Anthony as most of us, or gotten to cherish him in certain ways, but I do know that you have mentioned many times that he's been a character favorite for you on the series, so if you'd like to say anything.
Well, I second a lot of what you said, to be honest, and I think that the main thing I want to touch on is that it's ironic that it is this episode we're bringing this up on, because they make this... There's the moment we have with Professor Walsh where she's basically discrediting his fatherly figure of an absence in Buffy's life. And as you just stated, that could not be further from the truth. So as that, and also as someone who did not have like a great fatherly figure in my life either, I always reach for those characters. I've noticed in like shows, movies, anything like that. They always like resonate with me a little bit differently. So I think that's part of why Giles has always been kind of a favorite, but also because, like you said, he has a really great ability to be this emotional anchor in the cast without being too like over the top or dramatic or intense. He's always very neutral and he can diffuse almost any situation, you know. And I think this particular episode shows a lot of his acting ability also, which we haven't seen yet, this whole side of Giles. So that's to speak on his great acting. And I've seen him in one other thing that I can think of, which is also one of my favorite movies. It's called Imagine Me and You, and it's a beautiful movie. Anyway, you should watch it if you haven't. But he plays someone's dad, and him and his wife like hate each other, and it's the funniest dynamic ever. And they just like talk shit to each other, and they have a whole banter. And basically, they're like dynamic is a lot of what Giles is in Buffy, which is like kind of a diffuser for a lot of the intense things that are happening in this movie. But anyway, yeah, I love Giles. He'll always be a favorite, and obviously I'm super sad that Anthony's no longer with us, but I'm glad that we haven't ended the series. So in a way, to me, it doesn't really feel like that. You know, it feels like I have a lot to look forward to as far as Giles is concerned, so I'm grateful for that.
And now we're gonna have to watch that movie because, like Oliver said, I haven't seen it, so I didn't even know that you should have lore dropped that a long time ago. They'd be like, "Oh, I saw him in this one movie."
I honestly forgot, and then Meredith and I were talking after we recorded our initial episode when Anthony passed away, and I said something about how I don't think I've seen him in anything else, and she was like, "Yes, you have. He's in Imagine Me and You," and Meredith and I have watched that movie countless times together, and I was like, "Holy shit! How did I forget that he was in that?" So I honestly forgot.
That's crazy.
Until recently, but yeah.
Ollie.
So he started his fame over here on some Nescafe coffee adverts. Have you heard of them?
Yeah. I've seen them on YouTube. Yeah.
You've seen it, yeah. So like when he appeared on Buffy, everybody, maybe the older generation, was sort of like, "Oh, it's the coffee guy." And then I think if you ever grow up with a character, you know, in those teenage years when everything's so like formative, it's really impactful. So my memories of the show, and you know, like I've watched it, I don't know, hundreds of times, and you I don't know, you become used to these characters, and they're not your family because obviously you don't really know them, but they become sort of part of your character a little bit. It's so losing those people, it's really profound, and I think the community, and I mean, I know you're super involved in all of that. You know, the messages that people were reaching out, the stories that you sort of hear from people who've met him or were having conversations with him, his ability to give time, I think, was amazing. And like one of the people I speak with, she was saying that she would message him quite frequently on Twitter and he would always communicate back, that they built a rapport. And I think, you know, if that's just one person, that's a lot of his personal time that he was willing to give up to, you know, the fans. And I think when people do that, it's very special.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you know, when you lose someone, it's sad, but I think it's really sad for a community like ours where it's kind of so close knit and, you know, like people are so obsessed. So yeah, R.I.P. Anthony.
I saw on Changel's reviews, as usual, because I read my reviews, he obviously hasn't updated that post because it's been years ago since he wrote it. But on A New Man, he had made a comment saying, "I just wish I could, in this episode, reach out and give Giles a hug every single time he was like pushed down by all, like whether it be his friends or Maggie or whoever, whatever." He's like, "I wish I could have gave him a hug." He's like, "But at the same time, I've hugged Anthony Head a lot of times when I've met him. So I feel like I did get to give him his hugs and things like that too. So today we give him all the hugs from us."
Yeah, we do.
Well, let's not be sad because this episode is going to be fun. So let's celebrate Anthony and his more iconic moment in the role of Giles. That being this episode, A New Man, finally a Buffy birthday that's not centered around her being agonized and tormented first off. And that's because Jane Espenson is back in the writer's seat and she does Giles' episodes so well, like Band Candy. This one has her footnotes all over it. The agony and torment I aforementioned was switched onto Giles versus Buffy this episode, which is, I would like to say, a nice relief for Buffy, but not so much Giles. You know, he's in danger just like she's been kind of in the past on her birthday. So we kind of kept up the birthday theme trope of like problems going awry. He's in the hot seat this one. Interestingly, this episode helps explore what we've been asking and what Giles has been asking himself this season. What is he up to? what is his life now? Where is his place amongst the Scoobies truly now that they've shifted into these semi-larger adult lives that don't include him the same? You think he would fit in a little bit better, like age gap aside, but much better him to be seen with them now versus in high school, because we talked about that a lot in the earlier seasons when Courtney like first met him. She's like, how do people view this? It was this like older dude hanging out with these kids all the time, and they're like very adolescent. They're not even legal age at this point. So like, well, what does that perspective on to outside onlookers look like? Yeah, exactly.
When he turns up at the bronze in like the first episode and he stood behind Buffy with his hands on either side, creepy. Crazy. Horrible.
I'm glad we got the payoff of it this episode, though, because all season long we've been kind of like on this path towards like, you know, and presented numerous times. It's been commented on the fact that Giles has nothing going on. We've seen him pretty much like feeling lonely, acting lonely. He's been having a lot of screen time with people like Xander, who is kind of going through the same thing. He's feeling lonely and inadequate now that his friends have moved on to bigger and better things than him, or anything that he possibly could achieve. And noticing this time around watching it, I noticed there was a parallel not only between Xander, but like for Riley in that, because in this one, you know, he's kind of exploring the thought of like, Buffy's stronger than me. And how can I test that strength and like see, you know, deal with the fact that her power is greater than my own? Like, how can I navigate around figuring out just how strong or more strong she is than myself too? Which, like I said, kind of mirrors Giles in that way, because he's kind of feeling inadequate in that way. He's like, can I match up to Buffy? And everyone's trying to match up to like someone in this way. And then something I really like about the episode, other than the like goofy hilariousness that is the acting in it, especially when Giles becomes a demon, we get Ethan Rayne back. And that was wild. Like, Courtney, did you expect to fucking see Ethan pop up in this episode?
Not at all.
It was just
not even remotely.
Great. Do y'all think, like, just posing a question, because I'm like, why? Like, every single time he's come, I get the first episode, the Mark of 𝑵𝑬𝑾 being on both of them, and the demon trying to kill them. So him coming on that episode was a whole thing. Him being there
in Halloween.
Sorry, Halloween. I'm talking. I guess I meant more exploring his character in depth. But you're right. He was on for the Halloween episode first. I'm totally excluding that in my mindset. But he was there just to cause chaos and problems. But he did that because he knew Giles was located in that area. So he was there to like fuck up the town and just give him something, I guess, to be a problem. Especially whenever he got in band candy, he was assigned the duty of causing an issue, paid by the mayor and everybody else to be sourced out to cause issues. But this episode is like a special personal attack on Giles. So I'm like, do y'all think his like intention is to kill Giles, or just like be there to fuck up his life? You know what I mean? Like, what do y'all think?
Oh yeah, definitely to fuck with his life.
Yeah, I think to be a... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think given their past and like, I've got some questions about Ethan's sexuality that we need to...
Oh, we've already explored it. He's bisexual. They fucked in the day because they talked about how they did the orgies and stuff that Willow was obsessed with in the Dark Age and things like that. So we've like said that he and Giles are both bisexual, or like whatever fluidity that you want to. They don't care what kind of hole it is. They'll put it in it.
And then who was wearing those shirts in early 2001? Like gays in their 40s. It's got to be.
Also, Ethan seems like the promiscuous type to be like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
I make some comments along the way, so that'll be fun. I'm glad we're already bringing this up and that you specifically on your own brought that up, because it'll be fun for later. Something I found myself exploring a little bit was the fact that he came in talking about the initiative. And I'm like, did he possibly know more than he let on about the initiative? And that was why he tried to make Giles a demon? Because if that like motive fits, he was trying to get Giles captured and put in the initiative, so that way they're, you know, just going the max on fucking up and around with his life and stuff. Because Ethan seems to not really give a fuck. Like, I don't know if he's just holding on some kind of grudge. I don't know if like he really misses that daddy Giles dick from back in the day, or he's just really like holding on to some sore subjects from the past that he just cannot let go. Like, there's something going on there for the fact that he keeps returning to specifically mess around with Giles. It's wild. So I'm just like, why do you keep doing this? Like, I don't know if it's just to fuck with him. It's just to show up once every season and be a problem. Like, what is the deal? Like, what's your vendetta? I don't get it. And then it's never given to us. But that's pretty much all I like.
Vengeful X.
Yes, exactly. That's pretty much all I wrote down, other than it's just being a fun. I mean, this episode really is like kind of filler, but it also explores some stuff that we'll talk about as we move on throughout the episode, of just some little breadcrumbs, I feel like, for the initiative that'll be important for later. So it was setting up some things, but not crazy. Just enough to put it in there to say we've slipped this in here, but it's really overlooked if you don't pay attention. But what did you think of the episode?
I love this episode. I didn't think I would, because I was worried about Giles a lot. throughout the whole thing. But like I said earlier, I appreciated seeing this kind of side of Giles because we've never really seen him altered in any way, like physically. So to see him as a demon was interesting and somehow a lot of fun to see and watch. And I don't know, I liked everyone's part in it. Like, I feel like there was no one just kind of sitting around, you know, like I think everyone played some sort of part in figuring things out or getting to the bottom of things or rescuing the day. It was the first episode where I had a really hard time finding a weekly wigs.
Same.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, so that was
you got one for each of us.
Oh, well, let me borrow one and give the other one to Brandon.
I did put something, but I just had to pull it out my ass.
Me too, and it's basically like not anything that actually happened. It's just anyway, we'll get there. But it was a fun episode. I liked the evolution of stuff. I liked seeing where we're at with like Buffy and Riley, and I liked seeing a little bit more into what Willow's trying to do with her witchiness, and I liked seeing all of Giles be a demon and Ethan be normal Ethan. Basically, that was the only person that was really just doing some bullshit, as you know. Yeah, and Professor Walsh, actually, I found myself laughing at her more this episode than I ever have. And I don't know. I thought she was going to be a character that was either not going to grow on me at all until, like, maybe the very end of time. But I'm kind of slowly starting to like her a little. Like, I like her savagery. It's growing on me.
She was kind of pleasant this episode.
Progress.
I will say that. Like, some of the comments she did, like when Riley talks to her at the end and stuff. And I thought she would, like, double down on this is a problem or something like that. But she seemed to kind of hear him in a way that I didn't expect.
Well,
she's been a bitch, like the evil bitch monster.
And then there's the ending too, which is like seemingly problematic, I think, but I don't know. But I like that it might be problematic. I like that she might be a problem, I think, is where I'm getting. So yeah. Anyway,
Courtney's like on two sides of the fence right now, it feels like.
I know. I can't make up my mind, but I feel like I can see her as a problem, and normally I would hate that for everyone, but I kind of like that she's specifically the problem because her savagery is excellent. So I'm here. It's tolerable. It makes her tolerable.
We'll explore that somewhere in the predictions. What about you, Ollie? What's it like, I guess I should say, watching this obviously for the podcast and putting on maybe more of an analytical lens to take notes and do things like that, but also just view it?
It was really good. Yeah, no, it was really good because I've watched it quite a lot. I watched it with my fella, and he's not a big Buffy fan. He just kind of tolerates it. And I think he actually enjoyed it because, you know, it's quite funny and it's light, but it's got some good stuff in it along the way as well. I really like this episode, and I think obviously with Anthony Stewart Head and it being a Giles-centric one, it sort of elevated it a little bit for me.
All right, cool. Let's go ahead and roll through the episodes that we're going to actually get into the meaty stuff within it. Can y'all hear that outside really loud? Just curious. Like any kind of hum?
For a second I did, and
it goes away whenever my mic comes in, and I do have echo cancellation, like I said, on, so it shouldn't pick it up and stuff, but I hate it because I can low-key hear it, so I want to push this into my head so I can't hear it anymore. I'll quit at some point. Anyways, the episode opens with Buffy and Riley alone in her dorm room, enjoying some time together, aka a makeout sesh. Riley confirms Willow is out at the library, and there will be no interruptions. It's just them two. And just when things are progressing nicely between them, aka Riley's hand is moving under Buffy's shirt, their sexy time is interrupted when Willow suddenly bursts through the door with news that a demon has attacked the rec room. Riley questions if it's a vampire, but unless they breathe fire, Willow claims, not so much. I gotta call out for fashion moment because I haven't done this one for Evs, but Willow's as seen on TV shirt is a total like late 90s, early 2000s, especially 2000s, because as seen on TV was everything. I swear everybody was always watching that shit and ordering stuff offline. I never did because I didn't have money. They finally shut that noise off, thank God. But I love the setup of this because like we think maybe like Buffy and Riley are going to have sex this episode or just explore their physical part of their relationship a little bit more. That's clearly where this would have been headed. And I think it's funny because what did he call it? I think he called it a vag block, Shangel's review, because we can't call it a cock block because it's Willow that comes in. He's like, is that cool? Can I say that? Is that the right term? And I was like, I'm going to call it vag block because that vag is not getting the P, the V and the P not getting C, you know? Either way, Buffy jumps into action and the three race through the dorms heading that way so Buffy can move on to things she has better to do that night than kill. Riley splits off from them as Buffy and Willow approach the darkened room while Riley circles around the opposite entrance. Buffy throws open the door, stake in hand, only to find herself standing in the middle of a surprise birthday party. I love that they didn't tell Riley about this surprise party, just to say, because he is so like out of the loop. I'm like, wouldn't you have him in there distracting her, if anything, and let him on about it? Because it doesn't seem that way, because he's over there with the crossbow, and you see him toss that over to the side really damn quick whenever he enters the room. He's like, what's happening? I'm like, y'all know that's Buffy's boyfriend. Why didn't y'all tell him that y'all were doing a party? He's the best person to keep her busy, clearly.
They
That's
could have
true.
done that 100 ways without them walking in with weapons and all these strangers seeing them all the time.
Literally,
These
I
strangers are
know.
like supposed to be her friends.
he could have been like, Buffy,
You
don't take that stake in there. Don't take this weapon. Because she grabbed the crossbow first and she hands it off to him, obviously. But I'm like, he could have set it down in the hallway had he have known. Like, and just been like, all right, y'all, the stake is one thing that we can explain. We just say this girl really likes wood. Like, everyone at this party should know. So, I don't know. The lights come on. Giles, Anya, Xander, and a group of people we will never ever know yell surprise. Buffy quickly hides the stake that she's been preparing to use as Riley enters, catching on and getting rid of the crossbow he was carrying. Buffy realizes she's just been tricked into her own 19th birthday celebration, and Willow appears pleased with her ruse decision. But Buffy, not so much.
Guess you won't be killing anything tonight after all. Don't be so sure.
Oh, she about to kill Willow. But right now we're going to kill the Buffy theme. Yes, you guys were on time too. That's what's up. That's the first person to do it at the exact moment.
You're right. It's meant to
Oh,
be.
you have to come back.
Oh, anytime.
As the party is underway, Giles finds himself standing around with Xander and Anya, telling an old story from his school days and pranks involving a dartboard. However, Anya finds this incredibly boring and is hungry expressing it out loud. Xander politely reminds her that they've spoken about her insensitive way of being, and she apologizes to Giles while still professing her lack of interest with the story he was telling, and he tells them to get the fuck out of there and go eat.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? Because it's like, Xander like trying to control Anya or make her a certain kind of way. I'm not into that. But then I also like that she's kind of a bit neurodivergent, and that's like represented really well on screen. So like either way, I don't know how I feel about it.
It is a
I'm
two.
dead.
Fuck off, Xander, but at the same time, like, yes, Anya, come through.
Yeah, we know that she's going to say this. And the only thing that I will say, I mean, I don't feel like he's taking away anything from her in this moment. I think it's fair that she expresses concern over being bored, because everybody should admit truth. If you're like feeling it in that moment, sure, say it. But there's a way to deliver something to not be rude. And he got that as like, on you're being rude, like we talked about. We're trying to like not have you burst into Giles' home, not make my friends feel uncomfortable in a fair way. You know what I mean? Because he wants them to be able to tolerate her and have her around in that group. But at the same time, I do understand him being like, we've talked about this, and it being like kind of a moment for her. She clearly doesn't give a fuck anyways, but I get where you're kind of coming from. It could be taken negatively by a group of people, and just like herself, if she was the right girl for it, you know what I mean? If she wasn't neurodivergent as fuck and like everything else under the sun, social normalcy goes over her head. So if anything, I see both sides. But like I saw it as a little bit more of a respectful tone for him to be like, I'm trying to teach her how to be a human a little bit, even though Xander's the worst person to teach anybody anything.
That's
Like if I could put it into words, because he doesn't know social norms half himself sometimes. So for him to call out something like this could be taken the wrong way, like I said, by certains. But at the same time, I thought the same thing whenever I was going into it, like while writing this out and stuff. And I was like, him trying to like say that to her, like I don't know. It's a thing you have to kind of be able to like, what I want to say, just grant different perspective on, or kind of play devil's advocate with. You got to see all sides of that versus just being like, oh, he shouldn't be saying that to her or anything like that. Not you specifically, just a you in general, But like I said, everybody gets it that way. She quotes specifically, though, here saying, hopefully it involves a treacle and a headmaster. And a little lesson, because it's not really a vocabulary lesson, but I had to look up what the word treacle means, because I did not know what that was. I knew what a headmaster was, but it's the ultimate boarding school cliche. It's a sticky sweet syrup common in British desserts, and headmasters obviously are traditional hallmarks of old school British children's literature.
So what would you call treacle? Like syrup?
I don't know, this shit I guess we put on pancakes or something like that too. I don't know. I guess she was
They
saying
have golden syrup in America.
I mean, I don't. That's
I
what it said online when I
guess.
looked it up. I guess the reason she says it because I was like, "What does that even mean? Like, what is that statement?" She was kind of like commenting on the fact that I want to go over to the food table and get some food. So hopefully this involves something food related. But she was relating it to something British because he's British, so clearly she knows something about that. And she was saying headmasters because we know where Giles went to, like preparatory school type stuff. So she's trying to call out to like that harsh academic program that he went to and stuff, or might have experienced. I don't know. It was her way of taking a dig kind of at Giles, which is like one of those
Yeah,
first
definitely.
kind of times that we see Giles get a little bit of a dig. But Xander shit with her lasts all of 2 seconds too, because like this is the first taste, like I was just saying, of Giles like being like, where do I belong right now? Because he can't even sit and talk to Xander. Like clearly, like I was saying, we've been seeing Xander around his place a lot because those two seem to be the most lonely in the show and not having a place right now. And it's ironic that that's the first group of person like he's going over to talk to is Zanya. I guess I'm gonna put that as, I meant to say Xander and Anya, but Zanya. There we go. He's talking to them out of everybody and stuff like that. Later, Willow checks in on Giles and asks if he's having a good time, bringing him a slice of birthday cake. Giles assures her he is, though he's clearly a little out of place among all of the college students. Buffy soon arrives with Riley and introduces him properly to Giles as her boyfriend. Giles' face when she tells him is so taken aback too. He's like you can see like happiness come over his face, but like, oh my god, you're dating someone new, but also like, how do I not know about this? Like, he's at your birthday party. Clearly, everybody else already knows. So this is just setting off that theme. But I was like, okay, so you mean to tell me this party has been going on for a bit now, and Willow and Buffy is just now coming up to sit and mingle and talk to Giles? What the fuck? That's fucked up. You think that would be the first one, but I was like, okay, maybe so. And that's probably what we want. Giles is off to the wayside, disconnected and away from this group, especially as the oldest man here. But birthday events, it's any kind of event, usually have parental involvement in some way. Like if I was having a birthday party, 9 times out of 10, if I liked my parents, I would probably be inviting them. Any birthday party I've ever went to, at least someone's mom is there. Like, you know what I mean? Even at this day and time, as an adult, I find this hard to believe, but I guess it is trying to show how out of touch Giles is with the presence amongst the college life and friends, since he is standing over the wayside, especially when Buffy gets over to him and she starts acknowledging like her new age, like, or he starts to try to acknowledge her new age in this statement, and she cuts him off with introducing Riley. Like, she doesn't give him the 2 seconds to say like happy birthday, give me my like kudos, things like that, because he's trying to award her an accomplishment like a parental figure would do, and she silences it. And I get that too, because she's excited to show Riley off to her people as well, especially someone like Giles. She's like, oh, this is my chance to introduce him. She's not bringing that with, this is Riley. He was on the initiative. He's a commando and things like that too. But I don't know, it's the whole thing. Riley is polite and friendly, but the conversation becomes awkward when he asks Giles what he does now that the high school is gone, assuming that he's retired. Giles struggles to answer and speak to his personal life before Buffy changes the subject to claim Giles has no cake.
Oh, look. Giles has no cake.
Oh, here, I'll get you a piece.
This drives me crazy every single time because I'm like, Buffy, he just fucking set his slice of cake down to shake your boyfriend's hand, girl. Like, it ain't that deep. It drives me insane. She's like, oh, Giles has no cake. I'm like, yes, he does. It's on the table beside him, girl. Willow just brought him some. I'm like, y'all guys need to open your eyeballs because this guy is fine, but he's not at the same time. Stupid. Once Riley leaves to go get Giles that other piece of cake, Buffy admits it's nice having everyone back together, calling this one of her best birthdays this far.
Of course, you could smash in all my toes with a hammer and it would still be the bestest Buffy birthday bash in a big long while.
Right.
Dramatic. Like, no. But it makes sense because that's trying to get that trope out there to say, like, usually bad things happen to Buffy on her birthday. She loses her virginity and her boyfriend turns evil, or she's getting hunted in a house by a psycho vampire that wants to kill her on her 18th birthday for the Watchers Council. A test. Giles awards Willow and Xander for setting up the event, noting he wouldn't have personally chose this type of hoot nanny, mostly because in this regard, he's the nanny.
Chock full of hoot, just a little bit of nanny.
Buffy starts talking excitedly about Professor Walsh, describing her as the smartest person that she's ever met.
Rude. So rude.
Giles suggests maybe Walsh should have been invited to the party, and that was his way. He's like, well, maybe you should have invited this bitch. Like, this is his first little dig at Walsh. But Buffy casually explains that Walsh is old. She's like 40. She's like, nah, she's totally old. She doesn't want to hang out with a bunch of kids.
Would Buffy ever really say that? Would Buffy say that to her dad? To her dad?
Yes.
When I hear that line every single time, I think they've just it's like character assassination. The writers were just doing it to push the kind of narrative that Giles is not in and everyone's been mean to him. But like Buffy isn't that insensitive, I don't think.
Yes, but sometimes Buffy has proven to not think before she speaks in certain contexts and stuff. So I think here it's like, that's why you're right. It is for the narrative to like push Giles even further out of the group and make him feel insignificant. Absolutely. But the fact that she's like calling Walsh old, and Giles is definitely probably a little bit older than Walsh herself. I'm like, Buffy, how do you not catch this? Like, if it were me, I might say it, but then 2 seconds later I'd be like, oh my God, wait, no, that you're cool to be here, which is what I went to say in my notes is like, here's the second time Giles is pushed down in the dirt during this party and left feeling out of place. I know Buffy didn't mean it that way, but homegirl should think before she speaks, but it kind of shows she doesn't think of Giles that same way. To her, he belongs here, even if they aren't treating him as such. But Buffy saying that Walsh is the smartest person she's ever met, that's the one that stings, which is both equally sad and cute that Giles grows to dislike Maggie over the episode, the way Buffy is framing her, plus his own interactions upon meeting her later when he becomes jealous of her and stuff too, you know? So it's trying to put that in there for narrative exploration, but that's where my take on it was Buffy should watch her fucking mouth. Character assassination.
Completely.
Riley returns with that cake and completely unaware of how uncomfortable the conversation has become. Giles better not eat that shit, because I'm just like, bro, you better have like 18 pieces of cake. He does not need 3 pieces of cake. That's like chocolate cake and it's got all the icing on it. I'm like, he gonna have a seizure over on the floor whenever he passes out from blood sugar problems. He's got glucose monitoring after this episode. Over at Xander's, Spike is packing up his belongings the next day and preparing to move out of Xander's basement, taking his sweet time gathering his shit along with Xander's radio.
That's my radio. And you're what? Shocked and disappointed? I'm evil.
I just have to say, how good does Spike look in these scenes?
Look?
Yeah.
No, he
At
does.
least he's got his clothes back on. So clearly Xander went shopping for him and got him new clothes since he shrunk his old ones last episode. But I love how it's the exact same outfit that he
Did
was
that
wearing.
Hawaiian shirt not do it for you?
Spike was like, so listen, when you go to Rue 21, I need you to please get me a pair of gray pants that are slightly slim fit. I need you to get me just a plain black tee. I'm definitely going to need like a red pullover that I've been wearing since like the 80s. And I've still got my classic leather jacket somewhere around here. So we're good to go.
18.
I'm like, he's in the same outfit he's always wearing. So like, what store did they go to? Vampires R Us. That's what the R in Rue 21 stands for. Xander can't wait to get rid of him while Spike complains about every aspect of his living situation. Anya sits reading a magazine asking where Spike intends to live next.
I don't know. Maybe a crypt. Someplace, dark and dank. But not as dark and dank as this.
It's pretty depressing, isn't it?
I've known corpses with a fresher smell. In fact, I've been one.
And then Anya follows it up talking about, yeah, it is pretty depressing, isn't it? And I'm like, and I love it because like Anya is obviously like coming off of being evil. So she's like asking Spike, like, this is the person where social norms are perfect in her mindset. She's thinking of these questions to ask when someone's leaving, thinking about gift giving and stuff like that. But she's doing it for someone evil, but she couldn't do this and have this time of day for Giles. Like, you get what I mean? Like, it's so interesting.
She's really trying.
It's crazy. Xander grows more annoyed, attempting to manhandle Spike out. Anya calling out from behind him to hold up because he needs to take a gift home for his new home, aka Xander's lamp. Xander takes it from her and sets it back down because they don't give bitter enemies gifts like they do friends. That shit's wild also there because she's like, hold on, I want to give you a gift, and moves over and grabs another one of Xander's items. He's already trying to get away with his radio, and now she's like, here, also take his lamp. You'll need to see, which is smart because Spike reminds her, he's like, oh, I'm not going to have electricity in the crypt or wherever I find to live at. And Demon Girl has a point when she brings up curious as to how he will keep his blood fresh and cold, which is a very valid question because normally vampires, whenever they're like sleeping in tombs or crypts or their castles, it's all firelit back in the day. If we think Transylvania and stuff like that, there's like big torches on the walls that like light the way and things like that because they definitely probably still need to see, but they don't have electricity because they don't need it. They're not living. They don't need to function the same. They don't need heating and air to keep them hot or cold, but their blood in a sense comes from the fresh source, and Spike can't get that anymore. So I like that they posed this little opportunity to kind of remind the viewers that Spike can't go get his own blood. So now that he's moving out, like, what is he going to do? Because Xander's been buying his blood. Giles has been supplying it. Is he going to go go hook up with them at some point and be like, by the way, you got a couple extra bags left over here. Can y'all go to the store and get me some more? Because I have.
He's gonna find a blood
dealer. Is he getting a job at Rue 21 to pay for his blood income?
I like how Rue 21's become a staple in the episode.
Well, after this episode, he's going to have a few $100s to get some blood for a little bit. But he better be showing up to that blood drive from season 2 whenever Buffy and Angel had to that was actually in the Dark Age too, wasn't it? I think. Yeah, because that was when Giles was distracted and stuff like that. Giles was supposed to meet Buffy at outside the hospital for, transfer night. And Angel's like, everybody knows about this. Spike better show up on Tuesday nights. And when they're doing that little transfer, he put a vampire face on and at least scare them to giving him the stuff or dropping the shit and running with threats, even though he can't physically do harm, because that's about the only way he's going to get blood moving forward, because he doesn't have a job. He doesn't have a driver's license to go apply for anywhere. Like, Xander better get him a job.
Maybe Giles will hire him for more jobs.
Maybe.
Cleaning. French maid outfit.
Oh my god, well, you'll think he's 10 times sexier then if that's the case. I love having fellow queer people on the show. It's my fave.
I wonder if you'd entertain doing an angel and eating animals and rats and pigs and all.
Like Angel, well, can he hurt them? Would be an interesting question. Can he, Angel ate rats and stuff? He can't harm a living thing. I don't know if that is just humans.
He can only harm.
I don't think he can do that anymore. So I mean, we didn't explore it, but I guess he can't, because obviously he would have just been out there eating rats and cats and stealing people's dogs off the side of the street and shit. That's kind of fucked up. You go to grab someone's golden retriever while they're on a walk at night with it, and the damn dog yips into your fucking head. He's like, you can't even steal a damn golden retriever. Come on. Xander threatens to call Buffy over to kick his ass out if he doesn't leave now, and Spike, unsure why she didn't come to say goodbye anyway. Xander claims that she has a life and is meeting today with someone who is actually scary. Cutscene transition magic over to Professor Walsh sitting down with Buffy and Riley, discussing the fact that she is the Slayer, something they thought was a myth.
Well, you were myth taken.
That's such a good line.
It's so Buffy. Buffy needs to know her audience, though, because Professor Walsh looks at her and she's like, what? She's like, huh? I don't get it. And Buffy's like, okay. Anyways, moving along. But I think that's interesting that they brought Buffy, or what Riley has brought Buffy to say, hey, she already knew about us. They were doing their own research, her little crew and stuff, but we've talked about her. We know about her. This is the Slayer. How iconic for them to bring her into the fold. This is not only putting the initiative at a possible problematic space, but this is also exposing Buffy, because we know her on the show is her I don't know if I want to call that apparenda, but just normally we don't tell people who she is, you know what I mean, for good reason. You have to be a person in the group or come into context in some certain way to be told, but I thought it was interesting they're telling her. Walsh is astonished the Slayer was sitting right in her very own presence during class, speaking to how they are aligned with the same mission, attributing that to why Buffy had a below B average in her class, but still aligned nonetheless. It's only their methods that differ.
We use the latest in scientific technology and state-of-the-art weaponry, and you, if I understand correctly, poke them with a sharp stick.
It's more effective than it sounds.
Oh, I'm quite sure of that.
I'm like, yes, they know how to kill vampires.
But surely Maggie would know that. Surely. If the initiative is all that, she must know.
I think that's her taking a dig at Buffy a little bit here, though, because if you think about it, when Spike escaped in the harsh light of day, they stake the vampire that he throws in while he dives under the door. They know how to dispose of vampires. They're not stupid. They know what a vampire is. They've done their own research. They're mainly there to keep them captured. They're not trying to kill them if they don't have to, but they definitely know how to do that. So the fact that she said the way she just described this, it's a total dig at Buffy. So it's one of those unspoken.
Yeah, but why why would she do that? Why is she digging at Buffy?
Well, let's see. You know what I mean? Just kind of like Courtney said, there's this flippy floppy energy potentially, or the potential of Walsh not being kind of as nice as we might think, or actually being the evil bitch monster of death. Who knows? You know. She explains that they are working to get her clearance to come into the initiative, thinking that she will find it impressive, like Riley here, who has killed or captured 17 hostiles, and asked Buffy how many hostiles there are on her tally count.
So I looked that up. I looked up the kill
across
count.
the series.
Yeah. Well, no, up to where we are.
You're so nice.
So, so pre the start of the TV show, she killed 8 vampires. In season 1, she killed 28 vampires and 3 other demons, I'm assuming. In season 2, 34 vampires and 7 demons. In season 3, 25 and vampires and 9 demons. And then up to now in season 4, 10 and 4 other. So her grand total is 128.
Holy shit. First of all, my dick is so hard for this guy that I do not know in the UK right now. Not literally, but my Buffy dick is so hard for you. Let me say that. Everybody's going to be like, Brandon, what are you saying right now? But horny Brandon has arrived. No, that's awesome because like I didn't do that. I was going to do that at the very end of the series. So now you just have to come somewhere along the finale to let us know, like not for the finale. I'll have you on various, but like by the time we get to season
everyone
7,
on the pilot, about 20 of us.
Oh God, no! I'm not editing that. That'll be an unedited, unscripted, unwalked through episode. We'll just all talk
That'll be
about
the
it. We'll do a
Patreon
bonus
footage.
episode for
Yeah.
No, but that's awesome that you looked up her tally count. So you said what?
128 in total, but that's on screen. So I imagine if she's patrolling every night or 4 nights a week,
She's probably close to 200.
Or more. No, definitely more.
Yeah.
Those are just ones we've watched her physically fight on the show. She goes out night by night and possibly kills more than 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever. Like that is fucking crazy. And that's just Buffy herself that she's killed. Or those are on-screen slaves that we've seen like Xander or Willow or other people have killed.
No, that's just Buffy.
Damn. That's a lot. So that being said, obviously, hold on, let me figure out where I am. Riley killed or captured 17. That is strangely like indifferent, like to the fact, or different from the fact that like Riley has only done 17, which is so funny when we get into this because Buffy has to act impressed with Riley's number 17, but realizes she honestly has no idea anymore herself, as the number is so large that she's long since stopped counting. Because she might have counted in the beginning and been like, oh, I've killed like 10 vampires already, and then eventually just lost track. And she just basically ends up sitting in quiet because she's not sure how to answer this. She just kind of looks around. She's like, this is awkward. Like, fucked up. But now we officially know for this point, 128.
I mean, the mayor must count as 1.
The what does?
That's a pretty big deal. Like the mayor.
Oh, the mayor. Yes. He is he has all the 128 inside of him. So he's the lump sum of them all, literally.
All that easy. Yeah.
That's crazy. Meanwhile, Giles is cleaning his bookshelf and casually comes across a thought and checks a book, realizing an ancient demon prince named 𝑵𝑬𝑾, who is due to rise that evening, is arriving. I'm like, what? Count on his fingers, like third new moon shit that he says. Like, it's a total plot convenience for this moment to get him over to the script and stuff. But I'm like, Giles, what are you thinking about in your head while you're dusting to go, oh, I'm going to pick up this book, open up to a specific page and go 1, 2, 3 on my fingers and be like, new moon, that's tonight. Oh, wait, what? Like, explain this.
This is when I need Spike to do his cleaning.
In the maid outfit.
In the maid's outfit, yeah.
He calls Buffy's dorm room looking for help, only to learn through Willow that she's currently visiting Professor Walsh. Later, Buffy and Riley walk across campus together while Riley continues trying to process everything Buffy has told him about her life as the Slayer. I do like this moment just because we didn't get to hear it, but he's saying like, and you did this, and you did this, and you did that thing with the thing, and then like this happened. Like, she's clearly told him some theatrical stories about her past. I think it's interesting that she took the time to say like, these are all the things I did. Like, I didn't say it in the room because I didn't want to like embarrass you guys, like, and say that you've only done 17 while I'm sitting over here killing 128 to date. Like, she done named out every 128. Like, plus all these apocalypses. I think it's interesting too because like he's obviously stunned by the number of those apocalypses, monsters, and near-death experiences she survived over the years, not to mention the fact that she was only 15 when it begun, because all this is throwing him. But if anything, this just gasses up him more to be excited about her as a person. And we came off a last episode, me and Courtney specifically, talking about like the controversy between the way Riley was acting towards Buffy and trying to demand they basically have a relationship and stuff like that. But it was all because of the excitement for having someone that aligns with him and someone that's kind of within the same field, I guess we could say, because he couldn't tell anybody else. He's like excited to share something that would otherwise be a secret with somebody else. So like it's just everything for him. But he also finds this girl to be extraordinary in this mindset right now. So I think it's cool that we have that moment. Buffy brushes most of this off as normal, but Riley can't stop marveling at how extraordinary her life has been, unsure if he can even take her himself. But she claims that all depends on his meaning, gaining a cutesy smile from him in return. He's like, you can wear the maid outfit tonight. Tell me.
How do you feel about his comment then? Like, I'm not surprised if I can take you. Just like that.
I didn't go into it a whole lot. I might say something after they kind of like fight around later and stuff. It's what's posing the question this episode and exploring like it's hard to navigate this without moving to the future. Let me go track back because this is going to be interesting to try to pose a thought on. We come off of other episodes in the past where she calls him a specific word, and Riley has this like mindset of being like, Teutonic, that's the word. Because he makes the comment to Buffy out there in the field when he's trying to get her away so that way he can like patrol to find Hostile 17, his 17th person he's captured or killed. And he's making those comments. She's like, you think I can't take care of myself? He's like, no, because you're a woman. Like, you know what I mean? He makes kind of that comment. And even though he doesn't fully, I don't think, subscribe to that, he does come from that kind of background. So I think right now it's comparing it back to that in the initiative to where he's saying, I'm used to being stronger than women, not only because like I'm in this initiative, they're training me, they're like giving me, you know, extra protein and like all these other things to help jack me up and make me feel, even though that's like not something we've really gotten to, like he's doing everything with the initiative in this like military training, and he's thinking in his mindset that girls can't do that. So he kind of wants to like press the issue of how strong is she compared to me. You know, I don't know necessarily how I feel about the comments specifically, but I think that's just a way of him engaging, saying like, hey, let's spar together so like I can test the limits if I can take you or not, because he wants to know, which is kind of fair to say, like he wants to know like where he can gauge her at, but it's also kind of gross at the same time too. I can see that off your face. Like you're like, yeah. How do you feel about that, Ollie?
Well, it's really hard. Courtney, I need to ask you this really, because we've probably seen this loads and loads of times. So like everything is muddled with what happens in the future without giving anything away. So like, what's your opinion on Riley and how he is at this very point? Because you obviously haven't seen anything beyond it.
I see what you're saying. I don't know. I've been kind of indifferent on Riley, I think, since the beginning, and I don't know if that's coming from a place of just, like, our experience with Angel and just having an organic concern for Buffy, like, in general, like, no matter who it was, you know, it could be, like, a saint, and we would still be like, no. Yeah. So, I have a little bit of that, but obviously, and from my viewpoint right now, with full transparency, I consider Riley one of those characters that's like very charming and like well-to-do, but I think they make him appear that way for a reason. You know, like I do think that there's going to be a pivot in his character where maybe we don't like Riley, or maybe he's flawed in some way, or maybe he has a toxic element, because there are those little things that seep through the cracks, you know, which is why I think you're asking the question you're asking, because he has a tendency to be a little bit misogynistic without
meaning to necessarily
being full-blown misogyny.
We explore
that. You know, like he's not obvious, and he's not like, oh, I'm a man, you know, he's not like a big alpha or anything like that, but I think that he's, like Brandon was saying, he has those tendencies, and his background and his career don't help like deplete those at all. They kind of amplify those. So I think that for Riley, he's not used to feeling inferior to a woman. And I think that's most men, you know what I mean? So when they come across a woman who can handle herself, she doesn't need you around to protect her. She can actually handle herself probably a lot better without you around. Those are things that are hard to swallow for a bigger ego, which a lot of men have, no offense to anyone, but especially Riley, you know, and especially straight men. I think that they are a lot more sensitive in their egos, so I think that they have an even harder time swallowing the pill of like someone even more feminine, you know. Could be one of you, it could be a man that's gay, it could be a woman, it could be basically anyone they're not used to being on their level, and that kind of inducing that kind of a comment, you know, and that's kind of how I see it, because it's no different than what Brandon said we touched base on in one of the last episodes, where his approach to Buffy and trying to be convincing of their relationship together was wrong, you know. And I feel like you gotta let people make their own choices, especially women, because they're so used to being domineered by men or gaslit by men or whatever, you know. And I think that Riley does show a lot of those tendencies, so I don't consider him like a golden child of the season or anything like that. I'm more curious to see like how he becomes toxic, because I feel like that might inevitably happen, but I could be wrong.
They could have had a scene where he was saying, what can you bench? You know, there were other ways of sort of working out Buffy's strength or what she's capable
versus
Exactly.
a
down
test
to being
against
a
matching each other, like opposing
Yeah.
each other in that way. Yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
worth just saying, like, Riley gives us the mix of equal parts of both. He gives us the and/or of either side of that. One is the exploration of saying, like I said, excitability over this girl and exploring the curiosity of who she is and where her power source comes from, what her power limits may or may not be, not in a bad way, but then also equal parts of like what Courtney was just saying is like him feeling a bit inferior to her now because someone, especially a girl, is over top of his head, seeing off the comments like I was mentioning he made the initiative. So it's interesting that we keep having these discussions, and I hope these, and I know actually that they will continue to come up and be explored as we go on, but it's nice to see that we're arriving here along the way to sit and have these little side steps to speak on them. So thanks for bringing that up. Just in general, that posed some great conversation topic. Everyone else is like screaming right now, like, fuck that cardboard boy, we hate him, yada yada yada. I already told Courtney how people feel about him, and I'm like, form your own opinion, because I have my own too. I sit on the wayside of liking Riley throughout the whole thing no matter what, but obviously I'll have my comments to make as we get to certain things on certain elements and see what my take on it is this time around for the podcast as well. So I'm open-minded.
Yeah, good.
Determined to meet the woman that Buffy admires so much, Giles has arrived to visit Professor Walsh in her office. He introduces himself and explains that he was looking for Buffy along with how he knows her, school official-wise. She lets him know Buffy has left, and Giles acknowledges how Buffy has seen her as a great influence. Walsh speaks positively about Buffy, describing her as intelligent and independent, but the conversation quickly becomes uncomfortable when Giles tries to explain that Buffy isn't a typical student and needs more room to make her own decisions, unaware she knows much more about Buffy than she's letting on, as we all know. Walsh responds by suggesting that Buffy is unique, but her independence may be the result of growing up without a strong father figure. Giles is completely blindsided by the comment. Before he can properly respond, Walsh dismisses him and returns to work, leaving Giles to leave her office. I know that's a sum up of what happens in the scene with not growing crazy into dialogue. But one, it's interesting that Giles is paired up with her, someone that's kind of like now starting to be like the maternal figure to Buffy, and the father figure of Buffy is like stepping in. Now they're going to butt heads. It's like the dad meeting the new stepmom or something like that type vibe or something. I don't know if that's a good analogy to put towards it, but that's when my mindset went. And I think it's interesting that she's a psych professor. So she's always thinking psychologically where someone's mind is going on. So she's already done this whole, like, just like Anna does to people all the time. You assess them at a certain like capacity when you get in front of these people. If you have a therapy background, you're going to pick apart these people and say like, oh, I already know all your insecurities. I already know who you are as a person just from like 3 sentences you've said or just being around you for a time. So she's already had these thoughts about Buffy and stuff, but it's kind of fucked up. She's saying this to her literal father figure and she doesn't know that either. But I wrote in my notes initially after the scene ended, I was like, Giles is kind of putting his foot in it here. What do we think of this dynamic and scene, you guys?
When I watch the scene, I always think, well, what if there's a real what if moment here? What if they'd told Giles already that Maggie was in the initiative, and Giles had gone in going, I'm Buffy's watcher, I have all of this knowledge, we could form a partnership. Would that have just changed everything? And I think obviously the way we see it is part of the episode. It feeds that insecurity that Giles has got, but there could have just been this, like, it could have been completely different. It could have reshaped everything, that one moment.
I actually had that same thought because I was like, how cool would it be for them to kind of merge as a force instead of hate each other right away, or what seems to be like a little bit of a tension there. And understandably so. Like Brandon said, they both kind of play this equal part in Buffy's life right now, and of course it leaves Giles with that feeling that he's been experiencing since the beginning of the episode of kind of being in a more inferior place than he's used to, and also just like out of the loop, like Willow said. So that I don't know. I know it's there for that reason, to just double down on Giles and his whole like character crisis right now. But it is. I mean, it would be an interesting dynamic to see evolve that complements each other, because seeing it this way, while it adds to the episode and I like the tension in a way, it does leave me way more curious to see like what would happen if they could join forces and be both a female and a male role model for Buffy. Not saying that she doesn't have a great mom. You know, Joyce is off smoking weed somewhere probably, but at the end of the day, I feel like it would be cool, and it would give Giles like something to do in a way, you know, and to be involved with. So I don't know.
Could have hired him on. He could have had a job.
Exactly,
yeah,
and like I said at the beginning,
would be awesome for him.
yeah, and when we were going over the episode in the beginning, and I said like there were times where I felt bad for Giles, this is one of those times where I was just like, damn, that sucks, because he's being reminded like he's not really part of their day to day or all the conversations and happenings, and now he's reminded that like his role almost has been replaced by someone else, and it's not just anyone else, it's a person that Buffy said is the smartest person she's ever met. So I'm just like, oh my god,
when I say Giles put his foot in it here, I guess that's kind of what I meant to lead into with that, was like saying like, not that he put his foot in it specifically, like he stepped in some shit here because he wasn't given all the context. Because if they had just said like, maybe Buffy had to pull him aside later or something like that, or went back over to his house like she's supposed to here soon, and just said, hey, like, I gotta let you know that Riley is one of the commando guys we've been looking for. We've got a little bit more on the insight going on now. Update him, and then let him know that also I just met with Maggie Walsh, and it's like where I'm supposed to. I'm getting ready to go talk about it more, and maybe see if I can get clearance to go in here, or just like be granted the perspective of what's going on there. Then she could have told him that. Now, speaking of like my joke about being like, well, they could have got Giles a job there, knowing what I know about everything, I don't think Maggie would have been like offering him a job, because she would have been like, oh, like there's just some stuff we can't like have people exposed. I feel like Giles is like, he would have been someone there that like is paying a different type of attention that they might not want necessarily attracted, like a liability issue because of his affiliation to civilian life as well. So you can't just bring in all these civilians into a government operation, whether it's secret government founded or not, or funded, I guess all the words make sense. But I think it's fucked up because like you pair them in this way, and just because Giles doesn't have that information, he's sold short right here. Because he can't say, hey, I was Buffy's watcher, I've been the one training the Slayer, and that would make him look differently in Maggie's eyes, to where we wouldn't have to deal with what we're dealing with the rest of the episode, and he wouldn't have this like disdain for Maggie, and then she might not feel like kind of oppressed by him and his energy that he's bringing to her, and this like you know what I mean, it's just like two great knowledge people could have done so much. Here is the grand message that we're all getting from that, and the possibility of that here is kind of left out for us on that aspect of things. That evening, Giles brings Willow and Xander to a cemetery where 𝑵𝑬𝑾 is supposed to rise. And instead of finding evidence of a demonic emergence, they discover the area is already cleaned and undisturbed. Willow casually suggests that the initiative must have gotten there first. Xander agrees and starts talking openly about Riley and the initiative's operations, and Giles quickly realizes that everyone seems to know about the initiative except him. Willow and Xander are surprised to learn Buffy never told him, and Giles becomes increasingly frustrated as he learns that Riley works for the organization, Walsh runs it, and even Spike knows about it before him.
Well, that's marvelous, isn't it? Well, here I am, spent weeks trying to get a single scrap of information about our mysterious demon collectors, and no one bothers to tell me that Buffy's dating one of them? Who else knows?
No one. No one else knows this. Anya, and that's it.
And Spike.
Spike? Spike knew?
Only the basic stuff. You know that Riley is a commando and Professor Walsh is in charge.
Professor Walsh? That fishwife?
You know, she's actually not that bad when she get... So the demon's probably a little late.
That is so fucked up, because like we were just talking about him not being told information, and here he's getting told it like by just finding out. Like they're just in here casually talking about it. I'm like, Willow, Xander, y'all have to know, because it hasn't been spoken before that Giles doesn't know about this. So the way y'all are just talking about it, it's so fucked up on Giles' side. And his whole trip out moment, because he's like, who else knows about this, and puts his hands on his hips, and Xander's like, well, Anya knows, and then Willow chimes in, she's like, and Spike, and he's like, Spike, and I'm like like it's the ultimate fucking burn for his ass. I'm like, I'm so sorry, Giles.
I appreciate your little English accent twang on that Spike then.
I do it occasionally on the show. It's probably not well. I could only do
it was good. It was good.
If you tried to say like, hey, Brandon, speak in like English accent, I would not be able to form complete sentences on my own, coming up with my own words and dialect. It would start slowly turning into like Kendra, where it would be Jamaican 1 second, Irish another, Australian in another line,
me.
like Like I literally wrote my note somewhere in here. I was like saying something about, I mean, I'll say it when it comes up along, but I tried to put the word crikey in here, and I was like, I think crikey is Australian. I can't say that, so I had to delete it. It was funny.
It did sound Australian when you said it.
We'll get to it later. Let's see. Did I say anything else here? He does have a good point here, though. Like, me talking about this being fucked up. Like, he's been researching these people for weeks, because he says that he's like, I've just been the one here drawing these people, looking up information, and you guys didn't have the gall to tell me, like, and update me on this information. I'm like, why didn't they tell him, though? Like, is it just that they all really did forget? Are they forgetting about Giles?
Yeah.
Like, they all actively, and we've seen him in every episode, like, from the freshman, he was running up to help Buffy after he told her to kind of go off and do her own thing, which is kind of his fault for doing that and then getting treated this way, because he was like, no, go Buffy, do your own thing, like, I can't help you right now. And that was because he had his like girlfriend visiting at that time, so he was just worried about getting the puss. But he really did say something that's worth mentioning for this season, is that Buffy has grown up into a different version of an adult. She doesn't work for the Watchers Council anymore, so in a way he did start this whole trend of like her not needing him anymore. You know, if we call back all the way to there, he spoke that himself, so I'm not putting words in his mouth. So I guess like just every episode it's gotten a little different, and now they're just seeing him as like this other type of social relationship and dynamic for them. But at the same time, most of these episodes, especially the last like 6 or 7, he's been a part of the gang trying to figure out what's going on when another apocalypse is happening, whenever shit's hitting the fan, the hush moment, like when he's on the projector giving them the lesson on who are the gentlemen. He's still doing all the research most of the time, which is where they realize this episode that they've been taking him for granted and everything that he offers them. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. How do you so easily forget to tell Giles all this information? I just don't get it. But like Ollie said, plot narrative, like it all is dependent on this episode. We have to make Giles shunned and pushed away from the group. After sending Willow and Xander away, which is so funny when he finally does, he's like, no, just leave, and the way they skitter out is just so funny to me. Giles sits alone in the mausoleum for a few moments before deciding to head home himself, because no demon is rising tonight, as it seemed. Just as he's leaving, since nothing is going to happen, Ethan Rayne appears from the shadows, muttering to himself before Giles comes back in, having heard someone talking, and catches him.
Nothing is going to happen. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that at all. In fact, Ripper, old mate, I'd say something rather interesting was about to happen. Someone? Oh, bug, I thought you'd gone.
This is so funny in the commentary, just how it kind of happens with him being like, oh no, old friend, like you've got one more thing coming and just blah, 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 blah. And he pops his head back and he's like, someone's saying something. And he's like, oh, fuck, bugger, I thought you'd gone. I'm just like, shit.
It's the saying glow, gets me every time.
Literally. Courtney, I know you've already talked about like Ethan Rayne being back on the show, but just like at this moment, what's the first thing in your mindset when you see him step out of the shadows?
Oh, shit. Pretty much. I mean, obviously, I think given the title and the bit of breadcrumbs that I had and leading on to, like, Giles's character crisis, I think that I was starting to, like, put 2 and 2 together, and I think anytime Ethan comes on the screen ever, you're immediately like, the worst is about to happen, and it's always because of him. So I already knew in that moment that he was probably going to pull some shit on Giles specifically, just because we're so Giles centered up until this point. But that moment was one of my favorite moments of the episode, where I was just like dying laughing, because the like seriousness of Ethan when he's like talking to no one essentially, you know, and then watching his whole demeanor and expression change and like basically cower into himself a little bit more. It was so hilarious, and I was just like, I could see something like that happening to me and you, like me pissing you off on an irritating day, and then I'm walking out the room and you go like flip me off, and then I turn around, look at you, and you're like, oh.
Yes, exactly. I posed the question obviously just like ask that, but also because last episode when we were doing our Slayer predictions, that was like telling you the title, Giles centric, a new man, blah blah. You made the comment about like, does Giles become a demon for whatever reason? I was like, oh damn, Meredith, here we go again. Like, but you know, I'm just gonna make jokes. I'm just gonna make jokes. But you were right, just to call that because I could have said that in the opening thoughts, but it's kind of coming up here now. When you saw Ethan come up, did like any of those thoughts about your Slayerette predictions kind of be like, oh, he's going to make Giles a demon, or was this even still a thought in your mind that Giles might be turned into a demon?
Yeah, I mean, I thought for sure that that's what was going to happen, and after that point of them having that interaction, I remembered starting to watch for like when it was going to happen. You know, like I was like waiting for a certain moment, like when's he going to cast a spell on him? When's he going to drug him? When's he going to like, you know, do something sly? So after that, my like spidey senses were up for sure. And I was
Not the
just like,
spidey senses.
just waiting.
The perfect episode for a Spider-Man drop. Can't wait
True.
for that movie at the end of this month. Okay, so Giles calls out his old-time enemy, calling out the thrashing that he is about to give him will surely improve his day.
That is flirting if I've ever heard it. Thrashing you is going to improve my day, and he like takes, you know, the glass.
I love it though because he's like,
bit of eyebrow raise.
he's like so excited that he gets to beat fucking his ultimate enemy up at this point. He's like, I've had a fucking shit day, and literally beating you up is gonna make me feel better, which is like calling out that old Ripper energy too. Ethan attempts to flee, but Giles jacks him up against the wall. Ethan crying out that he's there because something is going to happen, so he was there to find Giles and warn him. Fucking lies. We cut to a local bar where the two end up drinking together as Ethan explains that something is happening in the demon world. Rumors are spreading about a mysterious operation harming demons and frightening even powerful creatures. And it's not the Slayer. He mentions the thing that the demons are scared of is something called 314 and claims it's upsetting the balance, alluding they are headed towards one hell of a fight. Before I get into some cutscene transition magic, like just the fact that Ethan's like saying this stuff, like that lets me know that he possibly only knows a little bit from what he's been hearing through the channels, because obviously he's in like the dark magic world and like the black, you know, if the black market were a thing, he's totally working there. But he calls out 314, which is interesting that this show brings Ethan on for this episode, not only just because it's Giles centered and we know that's his ultimate foe, but as somebody to like move the plot along for the season of like him dropping this information and lore about the initiative and stuff that he's been hearing. What an interesting way to navigate the season, saying like Ethan Rayne is going to be the one to kind of deliver it. Thinking back on it, I would have never opposed that as an option. I would have thought we would have found it out from someone like Riley or like Forrest or someone like that. Someone actually accidentally slipping up and saying too much or something like that. But he's our informant this episode, which is cool.
And it's almost like a blink and you miss it kind of moment. You know, it doesn't feature massively in the episode. It doesn't push the plot on a lot, and they almost don't take notice of it enough. It's an interesting.
It is. The cutscene transition magic we get to is like him saying like we're headed towards one hell of a fight. Meanwhile, we go over to Buffy and Riley sparring together. A hell of a fight. Sensing Buffy is holding back, Riley asks her to not. He will go all out if she will, and she agrees. The moment she does, she takes him down quickly and accidentally launches him across the room with a powerful kick. Riley crashes into a pile of gym equipment while Buffy rushes over to make sure that he's okay, apologizing. Though shaken and at a loss of breath, he assures her that he is fine. I like the cutesy kind of dynamic of the fact that they're fighting together, just because it's cute in that way. We've seen her do it with Angel in a different way, kind of train with him, but this is kind of that test we were talking about, and obviously it has its like not so great side of being cute on that as well. I also think it's cute in my eyes because I know Buffy can beat down any motherfucker on this show, and she beats him down in 2 seconds flat, because you can see, like, if you really watch it, and I like the comment she makes later, which I'll bring up then, but whenever she agrees to go full out with him and he's like, I'm going to give it my all too, you see him physically like blocking those punches and going at it. And like, you can see it on Mark Blucas's face that he's actually like going in on her, quote unquote. Which goes to say that the choreography that they did was really good too, because all that's them. Like, I'm sure the kick across the room and stuff is when we bring in the stunt doubles and all that stuff. But a lot of that is one-on-one shots where you see their faces. So they're actually doing these moves. You can tell by the way he's gritting his teeth and like doing this, as far as a character goes, he's actually giving it his all, whereas Buffy makes her comment later and stuff. And to sit in the moment, like in his mind, I wish we could hear what he's thinking after he's kind of taking in, and he's saying he's okay and she's being apologetic and stuff, but I'm sure there's this war going on inside of his head where it kind of brings like what you like brought up to us, Ollie, about like where he's being like, damn, she just took me down in like literally 2 seconds, as I was about to say, because that fight ends really quick. She's already swept his legs out from under his feet, he's tried to get back up, and then boom, he's across the room, like it's done. And he's like, fuck, like my one attempt to try to like fight her just now just got like overdone. Like I'm so outshadowed. He probably feels pretty bad, and he probably was about to walk away with his tail in between his legs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Back at the bar, Giles and Ethan have moved well beyond casual drinking. I say that because there are multiple glasses on the table now. Like, they must have been doing little beer shots as well. Anna probably stopped by because there's a bunch of little shot glasses there as well. I'm like, oh shit, they got little beer shots. It's an inside joke on the podcast. Everybody knows. Ollie's like, I don't know. We take in the two are a bit intoxicated, especially Giles, who vents about Professor Walsh and how quickly they seem to have accomplished things he's spent decades fighting against. Ethan half-ass listens and gives his number to a waitress he's found attractive. And at this moment, Giles was thinking that he was talking to him at first because he's like saying something about like you're attractive and all this other stuff, and you could see him like thinking for a moment. And in my mindset, he's like, well, I'm lonely and we totally used to fuck back in the day, and it's been a few weeks since I had some because Olivia was visiting in Hush, and I haven't sucked a dick in a while, so like. And then he goes in his head, oh wait, you're not talking to me, you're talking to the waitress, because he actually clues in. He's like, fuck. But not literally. I was like, oop. Giles moves on to speak about how everything has changed, well, except Ethan, which is, of course, then after Ethan claims to have poisoned Giles' drink before admitting that he's only kidding. The two laugh, raise another toast to magic, and continue drinking late into the night. I really like that shot because he makes some eerie comment, and then he's like, well, I did just like when you were in the bathroom slip something into your drink, and he just sits there, and the moment grows cold, and we all believe it because we're like, oh my God, that's an Ethan Rayne thing to do. This is the moment. He's done something to Giles. Giles is about to drop over. But then he just goes, just kidding. Like, just the way that the actor portrays the fake laugh, it sells it really nicely. So Robin, great job for your portrayal of the one and only time we ever get to see Ethan laugh.
They're so good at playing drunk. They are so funny with
literally though. And then I went back into my notes saying, enjoy the night. We're still a couple of sorcerers. The night is still our time, a time of magic. And I was like, magical dicks? So Ethan does want to do what I was thinking. No, he means literal chaos magic, of course, while performing it on Giles. But I was like, this must be sex magic. I was like, what my mindset tells me they did, they went back to Giles' house. They had some more drinks. They were already wasted. He got into like and whatever he needed to do. Like, I mean, witches know, like, we can totally perform sex magic. If you've seen American Horror Story Coven, you know that it can be used as an element for ritual sex. So he like enchanted his body. Giles penetrated him, and then by the time the deed was done and the seed was spilt, that was what made the ritual occur. And you know, it was literally boning Giles that performed the ritual. Doesn't that sound more plausible? Because otherwise, how did he do this? Did he like go home to his like?
It sounds a lot more fun,
right?
Anyway.
He went to his motel room, assuredly, probably, and just like casted out his bones in a different way and worked his mojo another way. Because if we're speaking on mojo, I immediately think Austin Powers, and we know what his mojo is. It's sex. So, and where does he come from? The UK.
England.
I love it though. I was like, oh, what a fun way to re-explore these two having sex. So I'm glad you brought that up in the beginning because that's what I had written in here. I was like, oh. Over at Tara's dorm, we find her and Willow meeting up to practice magic together in the form of a spell, Courtney, to levitate a rose and remove its petals. No articles of clothing this time. Sorry, mate. Courtney thinks that they're going to be gay, and I was like, all right, great. They seat by a poured salt symbol on a floor altar cloth, and Willow explains to Tara the spell and how it should be very pretty. At first, everything appears to be working as a light glows upon the rose, and it floats up by their arms as they acknowledge it, but suddenly, a sharp surge of energy sends the rose flying wildly around the room. By the time it stops moving, every petal has been stripped away, and it's smoking. Willow is confused, questioning what just occurred, because that was the opposite.
Giles when he climaxed.
Literally though. And Tara isn't sure, but does award that they did successfully get all the petals off the rose. She's like, silver lining, the petals are off. I'm like, Tara. What a great little scene though. Like, one, to see them two performing magic together. Me and Courtney talked a lot about that in Hush, or me, her, and Kayla were like just talking about that before Courtney went on the route of like lesbianism. Not to hate, because it's very valid, but the fact that she would have somebody to practice magic with. So now, so soon, even though we didn't see Tara last episode, we see her brought back in a little scene on this episode, and we see that Willow is actively participating in like magic with her and like getting someone to do that with, because obviously she was trying to go to the 𝑵𝐸𝑾 group and find those like-minded individuals, and those were all fake poser ass bitches that were cunty cunt and I'm not here for them, as everyone remembers now by the time that episode is aired. But I like that they have this moment, but also it's interesting that, which we'll talk about, obviously. I guess we can kind of talk about it now, but that was when Ethan was, I guess, doing his magic, because Willow comments on it in a little bit, and it kind of like
anything that was positive going, or just any kind of magic, I guess. I hope nobody else in Sunnydale was casting spells this night, because they're probably went unsuccessful as well. But it's interesting that he was doing dark magic in the area. It made their magic go like all wonky and stuff, because otherwise I think they would have successfully performed the magic that they were trying to create, you know?
Yeah.
Not sexfully, Courtney.
We get it.
I'm just going to beat the dead horse. I want them to be gay too. They would be a cute cups. The following morning, Giles wakes up feeling terrible. We pan into his room, but he is unseen underneath his sheets. Eventually getting up, and as he makes his way downstairs, we hear loud stomps with each step on his hardwood floors. He catches sight of himself in a mirror and discovers that he has been transformed into a horned demon. And Courtney goes, I knew it.
I knew it.
Exactly. Panic immediately sets in for him and us as we watch him accidentally tear up his wall when he tries to just lay a distressed hand on it. He breaks off the post of his staircase when simply using it as a guide, destroys his phone while trying to call for help, rips apart his shirt while attempting to get dressed, and tears his front door off the hinges while leaving the apartment, veiled by his throw blanket. Realizing Ethan must be responsible, and Giles sets out to find him. The whole fucking thing is so funny. The first time I saw this and I saw him go up to me, I never thought, like, I don't know if it's because I had the week in between or like what, but I never would have assumed that Ethan was going to cast some spell to make him become a demon. I thought a new man, like title wise, would mean like Giles is finally going to integrate into the group differently, or maybe this new man is Riley because he's getting introduced to the gang all coming off of Doomed in a different perspective, you know? But no, it's literally Giles has turned into a demon. So when I saw this, I was just like, holy shit. I was like, is he stuck as a demon the rest of the series? Are they going to figure this out? Is it going to take multiple episodes? You know, I remember all those thoughts going through my head. But then, like, watching it now on the regular rewatch of the show that I've done hundreds of times, it is one of the funniest scenes in the episode, just because he's just trying to do those simple things. Like, we take it for granted when we don't have super strength, and we've seen Buffy display plenty of times on the show where she, you know, accidentally goes to, like, at the literally the season, she's trying to use the yogurt machine and she breaks the handle off of it, and she's like, oops, fuck, like, or she has other like displays where she's just trying to do a normal action. Giles is just trying to lay his hand on the wall to like take a rest, and his fucking hand just goes through it. He just tries to put his hand on the post to help like him move around, and he rips the whole thing off. I'm just like, he can't even get dressed, he can't call nobody. It just makes you start laughing, but also you kind of being like, how is he gonna navigate this? But in your mindset, you're thinking like, oh, he's just gonna go tell somebody, right? That'll work, that'll help the situation. No.
Not so much. I loved it for the humorous value it brought, because like you said, there was just not any reprieve for him upon waking, like upon sight of himself. I can't imagine already like the processing your mind is trying to do like really quickly and just to catch up with the facts of life right now. But then to like, no, you can't even pick up your phone. And then, you know, in hindsight, that would have not made a difference. But like just to see the actual struggle of like of something you don't really think about, you know, of someone being so organically strong that they can't even like reach for their doorknob without breaking the door off the hinges, or pick up a phone without crushing it into pieces, and like all these things. So like you said, Brandon, I was like, how is he gonna get even through like anything, because he has to leave the
in
house.
Broad daylight.
I didn't know how he was even gonna do that, because like you said, he couldn't even get dressed, and even if he physically could, like there's nothing he can wear.
He said that was his favorite shirt too.
But my whole thing is like, Giles, you looked at yourself in the mirror. I know that you know that shirt wasn't going across,
well, especially
you.
with the like big old like things that are coming out of his shoulders, you know, looking like that demon at the spa, Ron Angel, a couple episodes
looking
ago.
like a borderline like dinosaur or something. I'm just like, what are you doing?
I love it. It's so funny. Whenever I was making the comment about his shirt, because he doesn't say that was my favorite shirt, but he goes, I like that shirt. And I was like thinking of Kendra when she's like, that's my favorite shirt. That's my only shirt. Just to call back to Kendra.
Irish pin.
We've talked about her twice this episode now. Rest in peace, Kenj. Across campus, Buffy and Willow are having breakfast together. Willow mentions the strange magical interference that she experienced the night before when she was alone in the chem lab, and suggests that someone powerful may be working dark magic nearby, having sensed that energy blocking her spell work. Why do we think that, you know, in a mindset saying we're going with this with a fresh perspective, and especially Courtney, why do we think Willow didn't want to tell her that she has a new friend? Like, just in general, like, why wouldn't you say I was hanging? Like, do you just don't want to? You want to avoid the like conversation of like saying there's this new person I'm hanging out with? Like, what's the idea there? Why are they
I
hiding
don't
Tara
know.
from
I
the
didn't
gang?
really think about
You know what I
that.
mean? Like,
Yeah,
anybody.
no idea. Yeah.
Like, that was my mindset of it, because I forgot that she didn't say anything. I figured she just came in here and said it because I couldn't remember how the words went down. But then when she's like, what were you doing? She's like, well, I was alone in the chem lab. I'm like, no, you weren't. Why are you lying? What's the point of lying? Just say like, oh, I was hanging out with one of my friends from the witch group that I met that actually is a witch, but I think it's just a conversation she's not ready to have. But like, why? You know what I mean? So
yeah, I don't know.
it doesn't make sense. Buffy intends to report it to Giles, or maybe even Maggie, and Willow sways in Giles' favor, bringing up that Giles has been feeling hurt, neglected, and left out of the loopy, reminding Buffy that she never actually told him about Riley and the initiative. Buffy realizes Willow is right and acknowledges she totally forgot and promises that she'll talk to him soon, but not today, because today is all about Riley. Willow talking her out of feeling bad for kicking him across the room. She mentions all the stuff that she was having whenever they sparred, affirming he should know her true strength and not have held back. Buffy admitting, oh, well, I held back a little. Which is the funny part to me, because I was like, damn. I was like, so you mean to tell me that not only the blows that you were giving that man, but that kick across the room was not full force Slayer potential? Like, and Riley was, like I said, going hard at his max. Got it. Like, that's fun. What the hell? Like, she just beat this boy's ass with 62% Slayer strength. 100, she would have punched a hole through his chest. Like, you think he was talking about his, like, which is kind of funny actually to call back now. And Doomed last episode, he's like, you look at me today and I've got all these bruises and I don't see a scratch on you. Like, imagine the big wound that's going to be a bruise on his chest for the next 6 days from Buffy kicking him across the room at 62%.
Broken ribs, for sure. Broken ribs.
I mean, he was holding them enough to think that they might be broken, but thankfully our abdominal wall might help that a little bit. Not from Slayer strength, though. I've never been kicked by a Slayer. I don't want to know. What is it I used to say back in the day? Slayer strength hurts, don't it, Riley? I used to say that about every single person that was a normal person getting kicked on this show, or hit or punched by Buffy. Giles heads to Xander's basement hoping for help. I love how he goes to fucking Xander first out of all the group. He's just like, I know he's home. These girls are probably in college class right now, but Xander's definitely in this basement. Sleeping till 10 a.m., which is a problem for Giles. Entering and attempting to wake Xander. Unfortunately, Xander has no idea the demon standing in front of him is Giles and jumps up freaking out. I like the whole display of the whole scene happening. Giles desperately tries to explain the situation, but everything coming out of his mouth we can hear perfectly sounds like demon language to Xander, who responds by throwing pots, pans, and whatever else he can grab. Eventually, Giles gives up and flees while Xander yells at him to run for his life. He's like, that's right, demon, you get the fuck out of here. This shit kills me. Like, I used to laugh so hard when it switches from like Giles talking normal, because we hear he's like, hello, like, it's just me now. When you open your eyes, don't be alarmed. And then Xander opens, and his perspective, he hears
You're a little too good at that. Like,
well, see, that's my thing. We have it over on Stranger Things, or Investigating podcast. That was one of my superpowers on their character profile sheet for what are they called, Courtney? I'm blanking on the
character,
the D&D spreadsheet. Yeah. One of my powers was doing like mimicry or whatever, like being able to like, I don't know what to call that. I can't remember.
The voice impersonations.
Thank you. Voice impersonations. That's called. I just have no words because I'm trying to focus. Thank you, though. It's a fact. Go back and listen to my episode with Tyler and Courtney whenever we were imitating Balthazar in the tub. They all remember. Running away, Giles crushes through children's stories. What the fuck did I write stories for? That's a typo. Children's toys, I think is what it was supposed to say, as people scream at the sight of the monster running through their streets. That shit's, again, just hilarious. Like, second favorite scene out of this, just because I think it's so funny, because Xander has no idea. And, like, we're like, oh, okay, cool. Now this is another element. We can't understand what Giles is saying. So picking up the phone, as we were saying, would not have helped at all.
That was clever writing from Ethan, or from the writers, or whoever. It was clever that they did that.
Yeah.
It mean that you couldn't get any help, and yeah, it was well thought through.
And obviously Anthony had to practice whatever like language he's speaking to do those things. I'm assuming that's him, and it's not like a voiceover or anything like that. I can't.
It sounds like him.
Yeah. Later, Buffy, Willow, Xander, and Anya approach Giles' apartment as Xander speaks to what occurred at his place with the demon, and they discover the extensive damage Giles' home has taken, which is kind of fucked up because it's all Giles that did that. Like, they're like thinking, they're like, damn, this place was definitely hit. They're like, this is 2 times in a row Giles has been beat up at his house, and now like something bad's happens. Great. Demons just want to, like, he's a demon magnet now. Or it actually is the demon. He's not the magnet. With Giles missing and reports of a demon attack matching Xander's story, they begin to fear something may have happened to him. Buffy on the scale of he may still be okay. Anya holding up his shredded shirt casually voicing she thinks Giles was eaten. Again, social not okay. Like, Anya, like, these are your friends. You probably should say like, oh, maybe something bad happened to him and just agree. But she's like, nah, I think he was eaten. I'm like, she said what, gobbled up.
Yeah, or maybe
whatever.
just point out the shirt and be like, what do you think this means? That's what she should have said, and let people draw their own conclusion instead of being like, by the way.
She's like, well, this is a shirt. It's ripped. Like, does that mean he was in it and they ripped it off of him? She's like, did Ethan remove this last night? Like, who knows? Ethan was so excited to get home. They just, like, onst they find out about Ethan, they're going to be like,
that's another context clue that they don't have that is unfair to them, because if they would have known he was with Ethan, they would have walked one step into his apartment and be like, oh no.
Well, how appropriate. Giles couldn't be told shit, and now they can't be told shit. So Giles ain't gotta tell him about his he can be discretionary, like, over his conquest. While wandering through a cemetery, Giles unexpectedly walks past Spike, who is excited at the sight of him because he's a bit bored, and guess what? He can kill demons. Y'all see Spike out here with the damn freaking tape measure, getting the square footage of the crypts and shit. Like, I did not catch that before. I just thought he was standing over there. Like, when I saw it this time, I might have noticed it as a kid, but it out of sight, out of mind, because it happened so fast. But it was like, he's literally out here measuring what he's gonna, like, live in and stuff. I'm like, no. Unlike Xander, Spike immediately recognizes him. Better yet, Spike speaks Fyarl Demon, and we find out that that's what kind of demon Giles has been turned into. Giles tells him about what occurred, and after some negotiations, who am I kidding, after some bribery, Spike agrees to help him find Ethan in exchange for money. Giles deters Spike from running to tell Buffy, which, you know, would have been the move, but he wants to absolve this without having to involve her and keep everyone basically from seeing him this way, which is kind of fair, but also they're not going to bat an eye at Giles. Just go straight to them. He should have let Spike go run off and find Buffy. Because if Spike was like, he's like, what should I do? Run off and tell Buffy real quick? Like, yes. Because then we get this all fixed. Buffy don't have to stab you in a little bit. We can figure out what's going on. You already know he was with Ethan. Now all the context can be put together, and we don't have to do the breadcrumb fucking connect the dots, play the game shit we used to do back in the early seasons. Like, we could just absolve this right now, but no, it can't be that easy. Back at Giles' apartment, the Scoobies are trying to research, but the conversation keeps coming back to their worry of Giles. Riley then arrives, wondering what they are doing here, and Buffy clarifies that this is Giles' home, and Riley clarifies the initiative picked this place up as a hotspot for activity on their scanners from local authorities. No info can explain what's occurring. Buffy continues to worry over him and how they found nothing, calling out her first reaction is thinking along with everyone else how if Giles were here, he'd have everything figured out because no one else is cooler in a crisis. I love that for everybody to weigh in on that, because she says that, then Xander chimes in with those comments, and I'm like, oh, so y'all are realizing now that Giles is extra important. Got it. Can't do your job without him, can you? He's the brains, literally. Like, Willow's a good second up, but she's over here talking about we got nothing. Okay. She over there reading the damn book that he had in his hand, though. I'm like, Cutscene to Giles not being so cool to argue with Spike as the two have begun searching Sunny D together. Spike driving them in Giles' car as he rides passenger princess. It's so funny because, like, obviously he probably doesn't fit the seat to hold the steering wheel the same way and shit like that, or he'd rip the steering wheel off and they wouldn't be able to drive. But I'm like, he's done got Spike in his damn car to drive them around. I'm like, this is given like whenever him and Cordelia were riding around in Gingerbread together. As they drive, Spike explains various facts about Fyarl demons while Giles struggles with increasingly violent urges, the rage he feels being brought on by his transformation. Speaking also about like how Giles' special power, because he's like, can I do anything cool as a Fyarl demon? And he's like, well, you've got that mucus thing. And he's like, mucus thing? He's like, yeah, like a paralyzing mucus that shoots out from your nose, like disables your enemies. And I'm like, the fuck? Like, that's what that power would be? I'm like, And I like his little comment. He's like, let me know if you're about to sneeze, though. Because he's like, are you fucking with me? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, but if you go to sneeze, and then it lets us know that like he's not messing with him, like that's really what the power says. I'm like, these demons be nasty as fuck. Eventually, they begin to pass Professor Walsh walking down the street, and Giles requests Spike to stop out the car too. He jumps out and chases after Maggie, roaring at the top of his lungs. It's so funny. And he doesn't even like, he can literally roar at the top of his lungs and do this thing. He goes, Giles, what are you doing?
It's so good. The physical comedy of that bit is brilliant.
And he loved it too, because obviously she runs away screaming while Giles eventually returns to the car looking much more satisfied with being a demon in this moment. And it's funny because like he delivered that right after he was talking about like, I'm human, I have a soul, I'm a good man. And then he's like, oh, stop the car. And we don't see why he's stopping it, but then he chases after her and he's like doing something menacing and like looking so silly while he does it. The way he's just like monkey, like looking, waving his arms around him. So funny. Third favorite scene. Back at Giles, the gang have found a picture of the demon Xander saw. They find out what kind of demon it is, about its mucus, and that silver can kill it. Riley receives a call informing of the attack on Walsh and how the demon made off in a little gray Citroen, aka Soul Giles' car. So they think. Buffy deduces that possibly the magic in the area being used could have been to control the demon, aka attack Giles. Buffy tells Anya, Willow, and Xander to stay here in case someone calls asking for a ransom. I'm like, on the broken phone. There ain't no phone here. Like, who's gonna call? What? Maybe they're gonna. I don't, because Riley's going with her and he had a phone. Like, what? Buffy collects a silver letter opener off Giles' desk, noting her and Riley will check the magic shop for anyone in getting spell ingredients recently. I think the like little comment that's here made when Riley's like, letter opener, that's not very sharp. And Buffy's like, I'll just have to put some force behind it. And he probably rolled his eyes and be like, of course you will. You know?
I know, right?
We cut back to the bar where Spike speaks to the waitress from earlier and learns that Ethan is staying at the Sunnydale Motor Inn. At the same time, Buffy and Riley break into the magic shop, you know, after Buffy kicks in the door and Riley claims she shouldn't have done that. And she's like, I don't have time to waste here. I've got a mission. And he's like, no, bitch, I've got a key to open up every door on Main Street. I'm like, oh, she goes, oh, next time. Buffy comes across records showing Ethan Rayne recently purchased spell components, knowing that he is to blame. I'm like, Ethan, wouldn't you, if you're going to go into this town, wouldn't you go into the magic shop and put like Buddy Kazoo or whatever the fuck you want your name to be? Like some other thing, Rupert Giles, if anything, you know what I mean? Like something, Ripper, I don't know. Like, why put your own fucking name there? Is it because like they had to take your credit card and things like that and they wrote your name? I don't know. It's the whole thing. Riley calls his sources and tells them to find the location of Ethan's stat. Buffy goes to head to the car as Riley mentions that Walsh has asked that he not bring Buffy along, and here Buffy grows defiant against that order. She has an care of his orders because this is her role, and not to mention this involves Giles. This puts Riley in a tough spot, but he moves on with her anyway. This is something interesting, like to pose, I guess, just that I really hadn't paid that much attention to before. It gets brushed off kind of by the end, but I'm like, why doesn't Walsh want Buffy coming along? Like, it's not a military operation, not truly. I know she's been attacked and she might be taking this personally, but it kind of adds to that, like, that well that will eventually, I guess, grow on.
I think it's like a test of Riley's loyalty. To see
well, that's fucking simplified as it is. I didn't think about that. I don't know anything about loyalty though. I'm just kidding. I'm a Taurus. I'm a main loyal Stan. It was a joke, you guys. But you're not wrong. I mean, that's something worth pondering. Is like she did do it as a test, and like again, obviously, like I could say it at the end of the scene, but we've all seen the episode by this point hundreds of times, most of us. But the way she like reframes everything whenever Riley tells it, you think she'd scold him a lot more for like defying orders and stuff. She just brushes it kind of off. Like, and I don't understand really why. I think it's because she like part of her wants to see where this exploration of having the Slayer come on board could take them, because she's definitely obviously like the one with the strength and skill to actually hunt these things. So maybe she could like be favorable to them. But as we know, the government and like military operations like do, they want you at a certain type of disposal. Like your hand is only going to stretch as far as they let it stretch. You know what I mean? So it's just like, again, it goes back to control, especially in the realm of government and military. They're all about structure and control and stuff like that. So, and what better person to have on your thing but a Capricorn on the cusp of Aquarius, you know, because Capricorn's all about authority and structure and grounded control. So I don't know. That's kind of like interesting to like think about. But I just keep going back to like, why didn't she scold Riley about this and be like, well, now you got to do like 200 push-ups or whatever the case may be to show some kind of like consequence for him taking her along anyways, versus her just being like, oh, well, maybe she is a good person. Just like you say, I'll trust you, Riley. Wink, wink. You know, I don't know. Anyways. Meanwhile, initiative vehicles begin chasing Spike and Giles through Sunnydale. With military vehicles closing in, Giles jumps from the moving car and escapes on foot while Spike continues leading the commandos away after being bribed to do so for money from Giles. More money from Giles. Specific. I forgot to have the word more in there because that's so fucked up. He's like, you're gonna like lead off these people. I'm gonna jump out the car and you're gonna keep them going and perform a distraction. He's like, I'm not doing that. These people are after me too. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I'll pay you more money. And he's like, the next shot we see is like Spike being like, ha ha ha, ha, come chase me. I'm like, of course, naturally. Spike made money of this night. I'm gonna need him to buy me some weed because I'm out. Giles reaches Ethan's motel room first. By now, the demon instincts are becoming harder and harder to control. He smashes his way into the room and attacks Ethan, throwing him around the room while Ethan desperately tries to explain that he can still reverse the spell. Before Giles can do serious damage, Buffy and Riley arrive. Ethan calls out to them that this demon killed Giles and is now trying to get him. I'm like, oh my god, what a believable ass lie, because Giles obviously can't defend that lie right now because he can't speak a language that they can understand. So that's kind of clever on Ethan's part. He knows that they're going to believe it too, because everything that they've done in the past, like with 𝐼 and all that, trying to attack it, it's just a regurgitation of that same kind of energy. So they're going to totally find this believable, that if Ethan's here in town and Giles is missing, there's this demon running loose and it's here with Ethan right now. It's all believable. So I'm like, Ethan, you're fucked up. Like, this guy did not do you this wrong, like, at all, for you to do this to him. But obviously chaos magic probably influences people to be dark and evil, and obviously he is a servant of evil. So who's his sworn enemy now at this point? A do-gooder. So I guess it makes sense why he always targets Giles.
Giles must have crossed him really badly.
Must have, but he's stupid because doesn't he know who Giles is really closely affiliated with? And who's kicked his ass every time we've seen him on the show? Both him and Buffy. So he took one out, but guess what? Who's standing here right now? Buffy takes on the demon, aka Giles, asking it what it did to Giles. Intercut with Spike wrecking Giles' car as he's continued to be chased. I'm like, Giles' car is gone. The fight tears through the motel as Buffy repeatedly knocks Giles down, only for him to get back up again. Ethan hits Riley and tries to flee, but Riley pins him down quick after some blows. Eventually, Buffy wrestles the demon to the floor and raises the letter opener for the killing blow, claiming this is for Giles. As he ponders, who, me? Poor baby. She stabs him in the chest, and as his eyes grow large, she suddenly realizes that it's Giles, him assuredly nodding yes to her. He's like, yes, yes. But in her, she's hearing, look. Even though we didn't see that perspective, I'm here to provide it. Horrified, she apologizes and discovers the letter opener wasn't actually made of silver after all. That part is really comical and stuff. But Courtney, when she stabs him, did you think that like Giles was like done for you? Like, this is the episode where Giles dies?
No, I mean, I kind of figured that wasn't the case because that would just be extremely unfair to all of us. Not saying they haven't done that before, but I didn't think that. I had a split second of a worry, but it also appeared like her resistance when realizing like the force that she could have put down basically was not the force that she actually could have put down. So I think like her having the realization that it was Giles maybe slowed the momentum a little bit of the impact she had. And so I didn't actually think that it looked like it impaled him enough.
So would you be saying that you think that she held back a little?
Yes.
She didn't put as much
which
force
she likes to
behind
do
it
this
as she
episode.
thought.
Yeah, maybe she was still trying to protect Riley's ego since he was there, you know.
Damn.
But yeah, I wasn't too concerned just because like the looks of how things went down didn't seem like it did like enough damage for him to die. But also obviously that was partly wishful thinking, because what would we do without Giles going forward?
So moments later, Ethan performs the counter spell and restores Giles to normal. As Giles recovers, he speaks to Buffy, who says she recognized it was him because he had that look in her eyes, that annoyed look that, you know, she's grown to recognize. Ethan assumes he'll simply walk away as usual, you know, because Buffy can't kill him. So what's a Slayer going to do to him? This is where I go. But unfortunately for him, the initiative soldiers arrive and step up to him and place him under arrest. Riley explains that Ethan is being taken into military custody. He will be detained in a facility in the Nevada desert moving forward. This leaving Giles immensely pleased with this decision and moving to watch Ethan finally suffer some consequences for his actions, aka be manhandled into the vehicle.
I love how excited he is to watch it as well.
It gives the same thing when he's like, I'm going to go watch Wesley like whimper whenever he's getting wheeled into the ambulance and stuff. I'm like, Giles is always here for someone like that. He gets annoyed because he's annoyed obviously with the Wesley in that episode or for that season, and he's also irritated as fuck by like Ethan. I'm like, this is great. Buffy thanks Riley for helping save Giles, and Riley tells her that she would have found a way to save him regardless. He admits he's still adjusting to how powerful and capable she really is, like Spider-Man, and that she's the one who makes the plan, executes the plan, that she's in charge. No one gives her orders. Buffy reminds him that she's the Slayer, and Riley smiles because he likes it and promises that given enough time, he'll still find a way to take her down. Playfully, of course. Y'all, if y'all could see Ollie's face every time I say these things.
He's like,
this is where I'll award you your mindset on it for sure. Just because I'm like, well, you did not have to say that. Like, I get it. He's trying to say like, I can be an even match. Do you kind of like, he's being kind of playful with it, but it probably does carry this undertone of like, I can't let you be stronger than me. And it's kind of gross to think about it in this moment like that. But it also comes on like, that's why I'm saying you got to have equal parts, 50-50 on it, because he's also acknowledging that his girlfriend's like a superhero he would look up to. Like if you were a person that was obsessed with Spider-Man, this is your Spider-Man. You're like, damn, I'm like seeing a real life superhero right here in front of my face. But he's also, I feel like, having some, not even some sort of, how do I want to put this, like he likes the fact that she's strong. Obviously we've talked about it a lot, but the fact that she gets to be the one in charge and she doesn't have to follow orders, he's kind of liking that. And he's like maybe thinking in his mindset, like maybe the job I'm doing isn't exactly the type that I want to be performing. So we could see this internal battle possibly moving forward with him saying like, am I going to be part of the initiative or am I going to fall on side Team Buffy? You know what I mean? If they start to clash, you know what I'm saying? So we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
The next day, Buffy visits Giles at his apartment as he sets up his new cordless phone from the 90s or the 80s, and when dial rotary shit was done. He's like, I'm up to date. Taking the moment to dig at Buffy and be petty about how this indigenous speaking tube is meant for calling people to update him about important things in their life. Then pointed looking at Buffy, and she apologizes for her keeping him out of the loop about Riley and the initiative. Giles accepts those apologies, but admits that he remains concerned about their organization. While he trusts Riley, he isn't sure he trusts the people Riley works for, especially after someone like Ethan claims, like all the stuff that he claimed. Buffy listens as Giles just advises that Buffy keep her eyes open, make sure she knows what she's getting into, which is very important to think about because of what we just said a second ago, that Giles is Buffy's like person that if anything tells her to like he's the second up to Buffy kind of being in charge in a way. He's a voice and has this higher intellect for most things, and he's already seeing some things, and he knows because Ethan said this shit that there's got to be some sort of truth to it. Even though it did come from Ethan, it could just as well be a lie, but he's already got like a weird taste in his mouth from his interactions with Maggie and everything like that. So I mean, I feel like that's worth thinking about moving forward. In the initiative, Riley meets with Professor Walsh. She questions him about Buffy and warns him to be careful, as she already made him defy orders, but brushing it off, still having the mindset that they all align for the same mission, especially after Riley insists Buffy is trustworthy and believes that she'll prove herself. Walsh eventually agrees that Buffy may work out after all, and once Riley leaves, Walsh passes through multiple security checkouts and enters a heavily restricted section of the initiative. After unlocking a final secured door, she steps into the room. The door closing behind her is seen marked with the number 314. Without revealing what's behind it, we fade to black, and here endeth the episode. So for everybody that's watching the episode, but especially obviously Courtney too, like Ethan makes that comment about 314, and then here it is right in front of our face. And this is probably like what you were saying about Maggie earlier, like I don't know how to take this. Is she going to be like a plot source for something like we're not expecting, and like there's problems?
We'll talk more about that whenever we get into Slayer predictions.
Moving along into themes of metaphor, A New Man is an episode about identity, purpose, and the fear of becoming obsolete. Throughout season 4, Buffy has been building a life that exists outside of the Scoobies. She's in college, she's dating Riley, and she's becoming involved with the initiative. For perhaps the first time since the series began, Giles is no longer at the center of her world. The title itself works on multiple levels. Buffy is embracing a new phase of her life, Riley is discovering a new side of Buffy, and the initiative represents a new approach to fighting evil. But the character most directly connected to the title is Giles. By literally transforming him into a Fyarl Demon, the episode forces him to the role of an outsider. Suddenly, he's the one nobody understands or recognizes. The transformation also acts as a physical manifestation of everything Giles has been feeling. He spends the first half of the episode frustrated, ignored, and disconnected from the people around him. After the spell, those feelings become reality. He can no longer communicate with anybody. His friends mistake him for a monster, and he finds himself wandering through Sunnydale alone. Professor Walsh serves as an interesting contrast to Giles throughout. Where Giles represents Buffy's past and traditional world of Watchers and Slayers, Walsh represents institutions, structure, and a more scientific approach to fighting evil. Much of Giles' discomfort comes from realizing that Buffy is beginning to look elsewhere for guidance, even if she doesn't fully realize she's doing it. Ultimately, the episode reassures both Giles and the audience that he still has an important place in Buffy's life. By the end, Buffy recognizes how much she has intentionally shut him out and makes an effort to reconnect. The episode really isn't about Giles becoming a demon. It's about a man who fears he's no longer needed, only to discover that his role may be changing, but it's not disappearing. The end. Buffy fun facts for this episode have a couple. The episode marks the only time on the show in which Buffy's birthday is celebrated without the inevitable, unfortunate event happening to her, obviously, as we've already discussed, but it's on the Buffy Fun Facts on the Buffypedia page, so I said it. Producer Douglas Petrie has mentioned the creative process behind the episode's metaphor. Well, we felt that Giles was a little underdeserved at this point in the season and wanted to give him something to be doing. It's always fun to have Ethan Rayne back in the mix. Really, this is Giles' midlife crisis episode. It was the first time that we got to deal with a metaphor that was what the adult had going on, not the teenage orientation at all, and quite a bit of fun. There were a couple of ideas kicked around. We were talking about a portal. We were talking about him becoming younger, him becoming older, him kind of recapturing his youth by becoming. Jane Espenson was kicking around the idea of getting teenage actors to play the teenage versions of Giles and Ethan, and to have young Ethan try to seduce Buffy. That was an intriguing idea, but ultimately we went with a pretty straight-on metaphor on his questioning himself in the middle of his life, and he's turning into a monster. Which that would have been an interesting episode. It would have been like band candy on crack. Like it would have been like because they never actually went young, but it would have been interesting to have like another character come on the show as a younger version of Giles and like Ethan. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, Ethan wanting to flirt with Buffy. I was like, he's going to seduce Giles if they going back to the old days.
Here
like the fuck you talking about?
It would have been good to
He's been
see,
trying to have a threesome with him and Buffy.
Like flashbacks of them in their youth, more of that as well. If they were going to do that, that would have been really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really sad that we never got that too. We talked about that when we were doing the other episodes with Ethan, especially between like Band Candy and all this other stuff. We like spoke to like because there was supposed to be like a possibility of like a Giles spinoff series or something that could have explored like some of this stuff. Yeah. But like with the show that does so many episodes, like exploring Angel's backstory or like, you know, the flashbacks we get with like maybe Spike or other characters that have been in the past, like why can't we get a specific or have gotten, spoiler alert, an episode that was like Giles featured or like something like this to go back and talk about it in the day like that I think when we did the Dark Age, that's when we mentioned that why couldn't we have gotten more flashbacks, because we saw a couple of flashbacks of them performing the magic and stuff, but it was like just elusive around a fire. It was really quick and it was like more in Giles' head than it was an actual scene playing out, you know what I mean? From now on, Emma Caulfield is finally credited as Anya under the name for the rest of the fourth season. Riley compares Buffy's strength to the fictional superhero Spider-Man. As per usual, I got to call out some pop culture ref, as I already kind of did. There was a deleted scene after Spike crashes Giles' car. Spike was supposed to say, I can kill demons, I can crash cars. He runs off into the night. Things are looking up. They should have just kept that in there because he just rams the car and then the scene ends. Like, why not see him? Yeah. That would have been perfect for him to get off and be running away and then be like, okay, Spike got away. His car isn't just sitting there. Either way. All right, let's get into our final slays.
Final slays.
Final slays, chaos magic, nighttime sorcerers, tummy sticks. If you guys don't know what tummy sticks is.
Jeez, that was a long one.
You can assume. It was.
Tummy sticks.
What did you guys choose for quotes this episode?
I have two. So I have You Were Mistaken. Obviously, I love that. I think it's fantastic. And then when Giles and Ethan are drunk in the bar, I like when Giles says Maggie was and Nancy Ninja Boys. That makes me.
That's so funny. Mine are, the first one is Spike talking about Xander's living space when he says, I've known corpses with a fresher smell. In fact, I've been one. And Xander telling Spike about Buffy seeing Professor Walsh when he says, well, she has an appointment with someone who's actually still scary. And then my last one, which is Xander talking about Giles not being there to help them, and he says he'd be great right now. He'd find himself in a second.
That was cute. I almost put that one in. I almost put that in the dialogue too, writing it out, but I didn't. I had Buffy whenever she's like, Giles was a librarian at my high school, and then Riley goes, I've seen the library. It's gone downhill since you left. I was like, oh, but also why didn't the question come up right then and be like, how'd you seen the high school right now? Like, people like, oh, I was there helping Buffy save the day. Like, all that, like, it could have came up right then. Perfect plot point. Walsh, whenever she said poke them with a sharp stick, just because it's pointed like quite literally, but also what it is. Giles, when he's like, who am I? An unemployed librarian with a tendency to get knocked on the head, because we always see Giles getting knocked on the head. So even he acknowledges that he's been knocked unconscious all the time, which awesome. Buffy, whenever she's like, I'll talk to Giles tomorrow. Today I'm spending the day with Riley. And Willow goes, oh yeah, I forgot that's what you always do on the days the Earth rotates. I was like, if that isn't some Courtney coded shit that she would say to me, like, I don't know what is. Or just best friends saying to another friend. I have two more, so sorry, I have 1,000 today. Giles, whenever he's saying to Spike, thanks to Ethan Rayne, you have to help me find him. He must undo this. And then he needs a good being killed. Just the way he said it. And my final one, Ethan, when he says, I really got to learn to just do the damage and get out of town. It's the stay and gloat that gets me every time. Because he should take his own fucking thing. Like, he knows this, but why do you still perform this way? Stupid, man. Who did you guys award Shining Slayer?
I gave it to Spike.
Did you really? For helping Giles?
Yes, for helping Giles, even though he could have killed him. And for being smart as fuck with the bartender to get info on Ethan and ultimately finding out where he is located.
Okay.
I too gave it to Spike.
Oh.
Damn, look at y'all. I didn't give it to him at all.
But I gave it to him.
That is worth.
I gave it to him for being sexy.
Oh, gave it to him.
For being sexy.
He said
Extra
Shining
point.
Slayer, Shining Maid. I put, I guess, Buffy, even though she shanked Giles, just because she was trying to like help. And obviously I was like trying to figure out who saved the day. Like, it wasn't really one, like, to me, I found in that way, but I have to kind of agree with you guys on like a second up for Shining Slayer for me. Like, obviously it kind of had to be Spike, because he did have the option to possibly like say, well, you know what? I don't like this gang. I've been trying to kill Buffy and all her friends for forever. This is my opportunity to get Giles out the picture. But he's got this like loosely based, and I'll quote, say, friendship in lightly induced air quotes, like, he feels a certain type of way about these people now, differently than he did before. Even though he's always talking about how he hates them, he appreciates them in some way, so he's not about to just off Giles when he helped him in some way, shape, or form, even if he was chained in his bathtub or to chairs or to everything, or got sent to Xander's basement. Like, he should have killed him just for that, to be quite honest. What was giving you guys the Wiggins?
Let's let him go first, because he has 3 and we have none.
I actually do have. Well, I'll say mine was. So I said my Shining Slayer was Buffy, even though she shanked Giles, and my weekly wigs I came up with Buffy shanking Giles.
That's fair. That's fair.
The first two we've kind of talked about a lot. So Riley, when he says I could take you, I've just put in brackets vomit, and then everyone being rude to Giles. That's the other one. But my third one is the very first scene when Buffy and Riley are on the bed making out. Riley's wearing a turtleneck, and they've both got their shoes on. Who wears their shoes in bed when they're making out?
I'm obsessed.
Buffy has always got her feet on the bed with shoes on. I'm just saying. I've seen it multiple times.
Never takes them off. In a bedroom, like, no, Buffy, no.
I'm with you there. I'm surprised I didn't catch that.
Me and Courtney can both agree that we're people that take our shoes off at the door when we get home and leave them there. So
yeah, no, and mine's like, I don't know if it's because I practiced Buddhism for so long, but mine's like an energy thing. Like, I don't want the outside energy coming into the house, you know? So I like make people take their shoes off when they come into my house, and I'm sure they probably think I'm like a crazy bitch, you know? And I'm just like, I don't want it in my house. Sorry.
Well, Buffy likes all that energy from the outside in her bed.
She likes it more than in her house. She likes it in the bed with her, all around her. Like, she don't care. She'd be sleeping with that dirt.
So do you? Should you say your weekly wigs now has agreed with him that you, since your practice is what you practice, you don't like the shoes in there?
Yes and no. I still kind of like the one I came up with. I started to give it all the way to just Ethan himself as the weekly Wiggins, which I think is fair. But then at the end, I changed it and I put Giles in Ethan's clothes is the weekly Wiggins.
Oh shit! I didn't even think about the fact that he's wearing Ethan's clothes at the end.
Silver shirt. It's like, whoa.
It's so ugly.
It's bad.
Okay. What was that Slade moment? What Slade?
Oh, my Slade moment was when Giles was scaring the absolute shit out of Professor Walsh by chasing after her.
Yeah, that's a very good moment. Mine was Anya being portrayed as neurospicy.
Yes. Oh my god. I just put Giles all episode. He slayed as a demon. It was so fun to watch Anthony act out all this stuff and go out of his element. What a fun time. So Giles and just Anthony Head slayed for me this episode just because he did something crazy that we've never seen before. So it's fun depictions with an emphasis on the Maggie chasing.
That was good.
All right, Slayer at predictions. Courtney, any thoughts about 314?
I mean, obviously something not great and bad. And maybe including Professor Walsh, which I don't know what to think there, but we'll see.
Yeah, like we said, I've noticed a lot of the setup that the initiative is like doing like with this episode and like what we're still going to see theme wise in the future. So I'm excited for that. That being said, the next episode is entitled The Eye in Team.
Is it about Professor Walsh?
Yep, kind of. I mean, she's in it.
But is it centered around her? Or do we get like...
No, we never get a centered
Do we
episode
get
around
like
Professor
more
Walsh.
evolution on like more insight on...
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe my instincts are correct that Professor Walsh is not great and she's a little more toxic than we realize, and maybe we get to know that. I don't know. Or maybe it makes it a little more clear.
I mean, you're doing interestingly enough well right now, but I'm gonna do something that I forgot that I was gonna do a long time ago, where I was gonna show you a picture and give you just a scene from the episode that might kind of help. I'm gonna give you two because I just Googled two, but this is one of the stills from the episode.
Okay.
The face is not specific. It's just that what she happens to be doing, but you see what's happening to Buffy currently on this picture, right? The green light from the initiative at Riley's mirror.
Okay, I see.
My phone's shaking because I have a shaky hand. But remember, whenever we saw Riley and them get exposed as they were the initiative people, we saw the green light scan them in to get into the elevator. So
that's okay. So she's gonna see what that's about, I guess, or she's getting her clearance. I don't know.
And then I'm gonna show you one final picture.
What is happening? But what is happening?
Now this time you can read her face a little bit more.
I don't like what's happening for some reason.
Well, I'm excited for you to see that. I'm going to have to remember to kind of do those every now and again, so that way you could get a little bit more insight, especially on ones that you can't think. You're like, I don't have an idea, because
especially
it's just
if like the title isn't giving me shit, you know?
Yeah. Well, kind of too, but I mean, if we think about it too, and obviously we'll talk about it, then the I in team is one of those like old adages that are always like, there's no I in team.
Yeah.
So maybe Buffy doesn't have a place within the team.
Well, that's, I was,
usually Buffy.
I kind of got that already just from this episode, you know, by Riley's like narrative around that, and what you said, Ollie, which is just like, you know, this whole point of Buffy being the way that she is and working how she does, and we're used to that, so to us it doesn't look any different, but obviously to someone like Riley who works in a more controlled setting and has a lot of like boundaries, I assume, and stuff that he can and can't do, and you know, he has someone to listen to, whereas Buffy, even though she's had like Giles as her watcher, as we know, she didn't always listen, and for good cause and good reason. And so I think it will be interesting to see someone with her kind of like demeanor and her way of just calling the shots for herself and knowing that that's the right thing instinctually, and being placed in a situation where it's a little bit more suppressing. So yeah, I get that.
We'll see. All right, you guys. Well, that's our coverage of The New Man. What did you think of Ethan Rayne's return and final attempt to make Giles' life absolutely miserable? Did this episode make you laugh as much as it made us laugh? And what are your thoughts on the all-growing mysteries around the initiative, Maggie Walsh, and whatever is going on in 314? Let us know your favorite moments, biggest takeaways, and, of course, your final slays. Oliver, thank you so much for joining us for this one. We definitely want to have you back sometime, whether it's for another Buffy episode or over on Angel. But before we head out, tell everyone where they can find you on socials and anything that you've got coming up that you'd like to share.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been fantastic. So my Instagram is at .buffy. Like I said before, I'm halfway through season 2 now on my lineup prints. So I've got Ted coming up next, which, you know, everyone's favorite episode. And I'm hoping to get, my aim really is to get a book together by the end of everything. So if that's something you're interested in, keep an eye on my Instagram.
Nice. I'm definitely purchasing that book when it comes out. It'll be a nice little lookbook or something. All right, cool. For the rest of you, we are expecting you back here next week for another episode of Angel. If you didn't see what I did there, expecting is the next episode's title. So join us as we talk about what's happening with Cordelia and how Angel Investigations handles a very unusual situation. Until then, thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you next time.
This is for Giles. Oh God, Giles! Oh God, Giles! I'm so sorry. Please don't die.
Actually, I feel quite well, except for the rage.
I think he's okay. Is this thing real silver?
I really got to learn to just do the damage and get out of town. It's the staying gloat gets me every time.
You okay?
Mostly. Ethan's wardrobe's not helping any. How did you know it was me?
Your eyes. You're the only person in the world that can look that annoyed with me.
It's gonna go on much longer. I'd rather like to be going.
And why would I let you go?
Well, maybe because you have no choice. I'm human. You can't kill me. What's a slave going to do to me?
By the authority of the U.S. military, you are being taken into custody, pending a determination of your status. Take it from here. Go, move it. They'll, take Mr. Rayne to a secret detention facility in the Nevada desert. I'm sure he'll be rehabilitated in no time.
If you don't mind, I'm just going to go and watch them manhandle him into a vehicle.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Buffy on Revamped. Remember to join us next week for a new episode release as we continue our journey through Sunnydale along with our Scoobies. We would love to hear from you, so share your thoughts. Discuss with us your perspectives on this or previous week's episodes by following us on Instagram and sending us a DM at revamped_rewatch podcast or by emailing us at revampedrewatchpod@gmail.com.
And if you're interested in a world left behind, check out my show, Echoes of Elsewhere, an urban exploration podcast where I uncover the hidden mysteries of forgotten places, interview other explorers, and share with you my tips and tricks of the trade. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time,
the Earth is definitely doomed.
This podcast is dedicated to the Buffyverse, to its fans, and my sister, Tiffany Dawn Pearson.